Okay, we are live. Welcome, everybody. If anyone's already out there, I'm not sure. I thought I could see the numbers of viewers, but I can't now. We have had some comments, but they may have come and gone. This is the nameless comic book chat. And I have put the links for both Rasa and Terrence down below in case you're not already subscribed to their channels, because we move around to each other's channels every Sunday to have this chat. And I also added a link to the podcast, Meanwhile at the Podcast, where we were superstar guests. We're listed as YouTube royalty, which is why I threw commoner into the title of this episode, because I don't want to be royalty. But a certain Canadian would like to be addressed as your sireness, your majesty.
Please, if you don't mind.
Your lordship.
Bow to us now.
I sent that link around too. I put that link on a couple of the Facebook groups I'm a part of. So it was fun to, I've never done that before. And I know that you've done it a few times there, Damien, but that was the first guest spot for me on a podcast. It was kind of cool. I listened to some of it back. I didn't listen to the whole thing, but
I listened to the whole thing because there's all kinds of good stuff, especially about Lithuania, that I didn't know before.
Yeah.
We don't talk about Lithuania when we talk about comics, but on that podcast, we got to learn something about Lithuania.
You don't ask, you're not curious enough, so why do I speak?
It's all up to George to ask the good questions.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's got a good show.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Don is here.
Oh, wow.
Don Ireland, who used to be, what was it? Don and his son.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Luke, Don and Luke, or Luck.
Yes, that's right.
And apparently he's in the hospital awaiting surgery, or just after surgery.
Wow.
Well, we're glad you're alive then. And good recovery, Don. Don's a great guy, a very mellow person, very nice. I've always enjoyed his videos when he used to put them up.
Yeah.
And he and I have had quite a bit of correspondence. So, oh man, Don, fingers crossed. That sounds serious. And earlier, before we came on, DaCosta came on and said, "Strictly commoners? I can see where I'm not wanted. The Duke of Dirty Bargain Bins out."
Keep the noise down. Copy that, Don. We'll whisper.
Oh, keep the noise down. Okay, well, you have control of how loud we are.
Yes. We can shout as much as you want now.
And you can turn us down as much as you like.
Yeah.
It's best to watch us muted, I think, Don. I think it's, it's probably for the best.
I think that's where we start. Our expressions is so widely known, so you should be able to understand exactly what we're up to. So.
That's right. Very expressive.
Yeah. So
that was fun to be on the podcast, and and we did get to talk about things other than comics, which is a good thing too. But I just constantly do comics, so I got this shirt.
Wow.
Makes me, every time I look at it, it makes me think of Mind the Comics by Gus.
That's a great shirt.
Did you guys like that cartoon movie? I loved it. Did you watch it?
You mean the Tintin one that Spielberg did?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, isn't that the only one?
Yeah, I like that. But then there's a Canadian, or I think French/Canadian production, where they made very animated movies of Tintin that are very loyal to the original. Yeah. Each episode is one of the graphic novels. Have you ever seen that, Terrence?
It's really good. I own them because both kids are in French immersion. When Jaden was we would watch some episodes in French just so he could kind of get immersed more in that, and we'd watch a show together. It's a fantastic show. We used to watch it on TV as well. Really, really good. Well worth hunting down. Yeah.
It used to be available somewhere here in the U.S. I can't remember where I found it, but I used to watch it with my daughter.
No, I know all those movies as well. I just now it sprung in my head. I remembered. My memory caught on with you guys now. I'm a bit slower, it seems to be.
Yeah, it was a TV show. It was a TV show.
Yeah.
The
And I
disappointing
remember
thing
all of
about
them.
the Spielberg movie was that they didn't do another one because it really set it up that
Yes.
they were going to do another one, and it's been
Yes.
however many years. Because I'm with you, I loved it. I thought it was great. We saw it in the theater, and I thought they did a fantastic job. Even the CG looked pretty good. You know what I mean? And some of the action scenes, the one scene where they're traveling down the hill, kind of thing, was fantastic. You know, this one shot that was happening. I really enjoyed the movie. It's too bad they didn't go any further.
Yeah, it must not have made that much money, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'm guessing not.
That's
Hello,
probably the
Paulo.
problem. Hey, Paulo.
But don't you guys think always the good things never continue? Like it seems to
That
be
way.
the hidden gems usually don't have the audience at the time when they need to. And then suddenly people discover us and start going crazy about it. Like, why did we miss it? Well, because you were douchebags at first, and then you realize you weren't. So
Yeah.
but
We're watching as a family. We're rewatching the series Firefly now. This was like my fourth.
That's one of those
seeing
heartbreaks.
and it's one of those shows exactly where it was. And watching it again, even though I've seen it multiple times, it's just so good. Yeah, the Nelvana one, Paulo. It's just such a good show, and it's fun to watch it with the family. Obviously, there's been 1 or 2 episodes we've had to skip with Lillian because it's a little too intense. But even most of the episodes work well for her too. So it's great revisiting that stuff. But that's one I wish would have gone multiple seasons. You know, just so entertaining.
yeah.
Oh, you're muted. You're muted, Damien.
What happened?
I was saying I just was getting into Firefly and then it was gone. It was so frustrating.
Yeah.
The Firefly is the one thing where everybody's like just like start swearing all the time. After.
Yeah. Hello, Ragamuffin.
Hey, Ragamuffin.
That's you're talking now of Firefly. I keep on remembering that Alien Resident TV show. It's fantastic. They went really good way, and they would.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people saying this. It's like as far as read, but I really enjoy it. It's thoroughly entertaining and it's funny, and it's relaxed kind of TV show. It's like no. There's those elements of like they had to spoiler it. But I'm just going to say it because, probably nobody's going to watch it until that part of the TV shows. His leg had to be chopped. And at the moment of movie where people, I don't want to spoil it. It's just that moment after they chop their leg. It's fantastic. It's like, oh, wow, it's so ugly. Why are you so ugly? You are alien. Because they realize there's this part of the show where they realize that he's an alien, actual humans, because there's some part of DNA. You only can see him true to himself because he's using the mind something thingy to make your eyes not see his true form. But when he's in distress, because they got into his crazy accident, and he's distressed, he can't control it anymore because he's in pain. So the lady of best friend of his basically starts seeing him who he was, and she's like, wow, how ugly you are. It's like, excuse me, you are the ugly ones. So fantastic show.
I definitely want to get to that one.
Yeah,
and I also want to have lunch with Gore now. That sounds very good.
Oh. Yeah.
And I wonder if Blake and Mortimer was ever translated into English.
I saw that post by Paulo. I'm going to look for that. That would be, I think, great. And he's saying multimedia division by the Dargaud Publishing House. That's incredible. I'm going to have a dig for that online.
Cool.
So anyone get to read comics this week? How about you, Lillian? Do you have any comics you want to tell us about?
Did you read anything this week? We read Bone this week, didn't we? We finished, what is it, book 5, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what are you thinking of it so far?
Good.
Yeah.
She's loving
That's it, just good. Anything else to say about it? Was there anything like scary? Anything interesting? Is there something that surprised you? Because I think this one was with Rokejaw. We met Rokejaw.
Yeah,
or Rokejaw.
Yeah, he scared me. I got surprised by him.
Yeah.
Because at first I didn't expect him to be on the mountains or wherever they were.
And we weren't sure if he was a good guy or a bad guy, right? We're still kind of not sure, are we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm confused with Bone right now.
Yeah, I'm confused with Bone right now. Yeah. That's good, though. It's good to have some mystery, though, right? We don't quite know what's going to happen. Oh, Gorvidal says
So
good day,
people
Lily.
are happy to see Lillian on the show.
Yeah.
Lillian, do you ever draw your own comic books?
Well, I'm actually drawing my own comic books right now
Oh, that's
Like-
awesome.
at my school, and I'm gonna like write a little story of a comic.
Do you have that book
Wow.
handy?
Wow.
Did you bring it back to school?
I bring it back to school, but I photocopied a lot of like 2 more, so I might make chapters or something like that, or just make more comic books. So then I can make three comic books. So I think I can. So what I'm gonna do is like do like one. I'm gonna start with one, then read my own like comic because I want to get back what I was doing on the comic. So then maybe I can make a season 2 of the same comic, but just like somebody like almost like Bone, because there's like series of it. So maybe like that, something like that.
Like different seasons or different volumes of it.
Oh,
That sounds really
Jeannie
good.
says hello to you. Mind the comic says hello. Yeah, she got this book from school and it has some pages. So she was doing some drawings the other day, doing some characters. So I was talking to her about, sometimes artists do that. They have a little sketchbook where they sketch a bunch of characters and see who they want to have in their story. So
yeah. So I before he even said that, I like had a sketchbook and a pencil, and I was drawing on my sketchbook some characters that I could do that.
So you were ready to go.
Ready to go. Yeah. What was the character's name? One of them that you showed me? I'm forgetting the name.
Bill, I think.
I think it was Bill or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Well, I bet your dad's really looking forward to reading those.
Oh gosh, yeah, I can't wait. It's gonna be amazing. Dakota was saying he'll add it to the pull list like I have every week where I go and get new comics. He'll make sure that he adds it. Yeah, when it comes out in the stores, when you get to be rich and famous.
From the Comickkrakk publishing house.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. Crack Publishing. That sounds fun. Yep.
Yeah.
I seem to be getting an echo.
Oh, you do? It might be from my side.
Let's see. Still coming? No echo now. Good.
Yeah, I think it's probably my setup in this one. I'm using a different microphone, not my USB mic. So
I see.
Oh, you already have a Portuguese publisher interested in your comic, Lillian.
That's cool.
Hey, Camaro Cinema. So, do you want to start, Terrence? You want to show us something you've read this week? Since Lillian's had her turn?
Rasa, why don't you go there, Rasa?
Okay.
We'll do a cycle. I'll go last.
Oh, thank you. Dear sir, dear
Earl
Lord.
Gray's here, and he wants to publish Lillian's comic too.
Okay, so I'll start from this weird things which I don't tend to have in my not really reading thing. Oh, there you go. There's a trade. See, I still read trades. But no, I got this for cheap because of this lady here, Miss Gwen Stacy, and I thought, wow, I'm gonna see her. I'm gonna read about her first appearance, and I was very disappointed, to be honest.
Oh darn.
Because this is a trade of, even though like they misleading it, but this trade is all about the Spider-Verse universe. But in a way, if you have watched the cartoon movie, which all of you probably did have, they introduce a lot of characters from this cartoon universe. So I was interested because many of them I wasn't really aware of who they were.
Right.
So a lot of different style of arts, of course, because it's Marvel. So the whole trade contains 5 stories, and every single one has different artists and creators. So it was it's like a mishmash of things, quite bloody, quite boring, to be honest, at some points. So we had Gwen Stacy's first supposedly appearance is just mentioned in the story here. She's in the band, blah blah blah. She's like not making it in time, and then suddenly she gets struck by I guess in a way it is her first appearance. So gets struck by the radioactive spider. But then it says in here, it says already previously in Spider-Woman. It's like, oh, so it was something was told before. So from that point, it was like, okay, should I continue even reading? It was really cost me nothing. I got it for like, I think £4 with delivery. So it was really a steal, to be honest. So I was like, just curiosity. I wanted to see what it's all about because, female characters is what I like to find out more and more about. So I don't like to kind of, in a way, support it, I presume. So so it was okay. It was like a nonchalant story. But then it went to this crazy looking Spider-Man. He's like a almost robotic style Spider-Man. And this very kind of manga style drawing inside. But one which is really threw me off reading Spider-Man story, where this is this one, The Edge of the Spider-Verse. I Walked the Spider. And this is like a retell of Spider-Man's first, like a retell, like how Spider-Man became, all the same storyline and stuff like that, but with a twist. And the twist was, which I have to show you, this. So this spider guy, who's supposed to be like you would expect, nice teenage boy, but he's becoming really evil. And he's eating things to sustain himself because he's
like a real spider.
Like a real spider. And then I can't see in the pictures, but is Lillian around or not?
No, she's gone.
Okay, cool.
She's gone.
Because that's quite scary. I'm like, what the hell I'm reading? This guy has like a cocoons of the things and everybody, and then he's turning because of the spider venom. He turns into this proper like looking Spider-Man, and I was like, wow. And it's like crazy. And he is because apparently the spider which bit him is the way they propagate. They bite you, and they come out after your skin, and that's this Mary Jane.
Wow. So it's like the horror movie version of the Spider-Man myth.
Yeah, exactly. And so this story basically, I was like, okay, I was reading and I was like kind of getting a little bit bored, to be honest. But and this story just hooked me up again back. I was like, I didn't expect it to be this gruesome because it's like, like Spider-Man usually don't have that kind of like a storylines where but the way he dies his jaw basically gets ripped apart. So that was like, whoa, it's crazy. And then this story about the girl in Japan, I think she is the one who has this giant robot and she carries the spider everywhere with her like a pet. And then that's how she gets her powers, and the spider is controlling her. But how she gained her powers was kind of crazy. It's like, oh, you know what you have to do. And because their parents were scientists, they basically, because she has that genetic mark of the parents, they want her to be they want her to be bitten by a spider, and she's like has to be accepting that, and the spider comes in and just bits her. It's like, wow, she's like 10, 8, maybe 8 years old.
That was the character that showed up briefly in Spider-Verse.
Yeah. She was the one, like all the spiders, all the like the gothic guy, like with Nicolas Cage voice, and then you have your Miles Morales, then you have Spider-Gwen, and then you have alternative Spider-Man, and then you have her, and then pig spider. So so she's basically, this is the girl who with a robot and the spider on her, like a mecha.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But what I really liked about this one is that the art was really different, and I really enjoyed this one. I very felt indie type of the art and the colors. It was really fantastic.
Yeah, that looks really good.
Yeah, and basically those two last stories basically kept me. It's like, okay, it wasn't too wasteful then. And there's this like guy like looking like Daredevil, timeline where she's from. But basically what happened in this one is there's this like bad guy who's going through timelines and killing each Spider-Man. That's why they come together, join together, and then the Spider-Verse. So they come together, join together to beat him. So that's basically just telling us how they met together, because this is how it ends the story. See all of them meeting together, trying to defeat the bad guy, I guess, in next volume. So it was, for her appearance, I was thinking, okay, so maybe you'll give me more backstory, but they never did. It's like, oh, previously in Spider-Woman. It's like, huh? Excuse me, I'm getting a trade. All about this lady, apparently, but no, not that much. That was like really nonchalant story, like, she's in the band, she's struggling, she's trying to keep up because she's hiding from her dad, because her dad is a copper. It's almost like a bad girl type of a story, like background, to be honest, because she's a teenager, bands and blah, blah, blah. And her dad is in charge of the police, and then they hunting her because she's the bad guy, because she's a spider and blah, blah, blah. And then she gets caught, and she takes out her hood, and the dad's like, it's like, you want, just a second ago you wanted to kill me, and now you're like, your jaws just dropped because you're the Spider Gwen, or the Spider-Woman, whatever she's, or Ghost Spider. I think she's Ghost Spider. I think in that time.
So do you think you'll get the next volume, or have you had enough? I
don't know. I don't think I want to anymore. Those two last issues were, as I say, I really, Ragamuffin, Penny Parker. Those two last issues was good, but those two stories. But overall, as a trade companion, thankfully, I didn't have to pay the retail for $16. Like retail, imagine paying $16 and getting, like, if I would have the same expectations, like, what the hell, man? Why? Why? I would say, like, take it and give my money back. To be honest, but yeah, for £4, I was, like, just for curiosity, because sometimes I do like to delve into some spider stories. I read quite a few of them, and even I was like so happy because Disney Plus had the original 1990s the cartoon, which I was watching, and then suddenly disappeared. Apparently nobody knows why Disney just took it away from there. Some maybe rights problems and something like that. But anyway, so I thought I'll have something completely different to change the flavor of reading. Sometimes when you eat so much of the one thing, you need something to change. So this is my appetizer for something else. I'm trying to be clever.
I wonder if they did a mini-series on the Mecha Spider Girl. That would be fun.
Yeah, she's cool, but like the way her origin was, like, wow, the kid doesn't have a choice. Like, her parents are dead, and then she's like, okay, you're here, you are kind of like, we need you, and we're gonna use like a rap rat. So here, take the spider. And what freaks me out all the time, because I'm not really best friends with spiders. Like, I don't have a spider pet, and she has a spider pet everywhere, and it's like, oh, and she like talks like in the third, or whatever spider wants. So kind of like, is the spider actually controlling her? That freaked me a little bit out. And then she has this robot where she actually goes in, and then that's how she became a mecha spider kind of thing. So it's a twist of that point, but it would be interesting to see those alternatives who gets like like Vision had with Tom King had that miniseries. I would love that they continue doing that with every kind of like obscure character. I would be the person for the audience, all that kind of stuff, because I like my superheroes, so I kind of like to have that kind of sampling of that.
Yeah, it's fun to have the more obscure
that as well.
Yeah.
And we can all go to Gore Vidal's house for lunch along with Earl Grey. But we have to bring cheerleaders. But I guess Terrence has some cheerleaders he can bring. Maybe that'll keep Gore happy. Okay, do you want to throw something at us, Terrence? Are you ready, or do you want me to go?
I'm ready. Yeah, I'm ready. I'll start with these two because I read 2 volumes of the continuing adventures of Valerian and Laureline. And the more that I read of these, the more I enjoy them, actually. this one was particularly entertaining. This Heroes of the Equinox,
Mhm.
because they had some good bits. They had some good references. Even like right from the starting page, they do this kind of format that they do later on in the story too, just creating these 4 different storylines simultaneously on the page and getting a very Druyer style there. And then we get some nods to Mobius as well later on. So the premise is that it's a competition that takes place on individual planets, or they send kind of a they send one individual to go to this other planet, and then there's the second page of them all kind of taking off, which I thought was really fantastic as well too. It's a planet where people, they can't reproduce. They have to go to this island where the children come from, where the next generation comes from. So they're sent to do that, and they have some trials that they face during the whole thing. There's like a Thor type character in here. There's a mystical character. So when they kind of get into their mission, they do this beautiful kind of cross panel. Everybody gets their own tier, which I thought was a really nice way to read it. And then as it kind of carries on, we have Valerian here kind of fall through the page and down to the bottom where he ends up kind of in the tunnels. So just kind of moving his character to a different part of the story, I thought was really clever. And it continues on for a few pages where it's broken up like that. And then eventually we get to, here's the Mobius homage panels there, where he starts flying on a winged creature, which even at the end says Arzak, as he kind of has hearts coming out for him. So really, I just thought it was enjoyable. And then a nice touch here too, where they were taking off. Where is it? They basically refer to them as the Fantastic Four. Those 4 are fantastic. Yes, really super, those heroes, as they go flying off to kind of, start their trials to get the next generation over. So this was a really fun read. The thing that I'm noticing about the Valerian stuff, it does sort of taper off near the end. It's not that the endings are bad. It just, you really have this kind of excitement throughout it, and then it just sort of wraps up. So of course, Valerian is the one that's chosen to kind of be sort of the father of this next generation of children, and that's the goddess there that he's going to kind of mate with, I guess. So that was a lot of fun. And then,
do they often do that in Valerian? Have the references to other comics and things?
I haven't noticed it in the ones that I've read. That was the one that had the most of it anyway. There may have been things in previous volumes, but they may have just gone past me. They may be referring to stuff that I just am not aware of. This one, there was so many overt references in it that it really stood out. And then this volume, this Welcome to Alphalol, was interesting as well. And again, from the, considering 1972 is when it was written, there's a planet that Earth has taken over, and it's mining and factories and stuff. And as Valerian and Laureline are leaving, they come across a ship that's kind of stranded in space and looks like it's been injured. They come to find that it's the people that originally inhabited the planet. I love this panel here. This one is just so nice, like beautiful stuff. So they kind of talk about there's a galactic code that if the original inhabitants of a planet come back on a planet that Earth has colonized, they'll give it up. But basically they don't in this one, because the life cycle of these alien species, I think, is like 200,000 or 300,000 years basically, and they're nomads. So they go on these long excursions where they don't come back to their planet. When they eventually do come back, this one kind of makes you dislike Valerian, because he's a real sort of company man. He's, he works for the Galactic Empire, and they tell him, it's like, no, you got to put them on reserves. and no, we're not going to give them free food. If they want food, we're going to make them work in the factories and stuff. So there was that was a heavy message throughout the whole thing. So much so that Laureline kind of is completely turned off by Valerian and goes to live with these people and kind of live with them and work with them. So when they start working for the factories, it's not overt sabotage, but they start to, because they don't like the way they're doing things. These group of inhabitants, and I'm blanking on their name, they start kind of changing the technology. So instead of mining, they're reproducing flowers and that sort of thing, right? So, and then they just kind of get bored of messing around and decide that they're going to go on another trip and leave the planet behind again, so they won't be back for tens or hundreds of thousands of years. So it was an interesting story, especially dealing with that kind of a topic in 1972. Seems to be fairly forward thinking, you know. But again, it's one of those things that, as the story kind of wraps up, it feels like it just wraps up quick and just kind of just ends. It's not a completely satisfying ending. It's enjoyable, but I wish they would have explored some of those ideas a little bit more. But I mean, I don't know when these came out exactly what the age audience was. I mean, it's not for young kids, but I don't feel it's for older people as well too. It feels like kind of, you know, maybe teens-ish. But that's they were both enjoyable. I'm loving the series more and more, every one that I read.
It's interesting that they wrap up so quickly, because they have, I presume when they're doing albums like that, they have more time to think about what they're going to do, unlike a monthly comic where they're in a rush to wrap up each issue. You know, like the old Jack Kirby, Stan Lee comics. Always suddenly on the last page, it's like, oh, we got to wrap up this story on this page.
Yeah, it's weird. And I don't know how originally, I'm assuming that they always had the same page count, you know, and yeah, I'm not really sure why that is. Or maybe they just, it almost feels like they put in a lot of really interesting ideas. And then the classic, I mean, how easy is it to end any kind of story? That's got to be one of the most difficult parts of it. Really, really good. These ones are from Dargaud, which we were talking about earlier. And these are from, the English versions are from 1983. So originally published 1972, and then these versions are 1983.
So you're buying them used?
And then it went to Cinebook. Yeah, I bought them used. Yeah, and then it went to
Cinebook. So now
Cinebook
you can get them from Cinebook. Yeah, I think I have a volume or two that I haven't read from Cinebook. Hello, Mastodon. Hello, Scott. Oh, they're breaking the space-time continuum. Are they one and the same person from different time zones? I don't know.
Yikes.
Yeah, I started watching the Valerian movie once, and then I thought, oh, wait a minute, I have the graphic album of their first graphic album, so I should read that first. And then I never did, so I never watched the movie. Did you like the movie, or did you watch it?
Yeah, the movie's entertaining. We had it. We bought it. It was on sale at one place, I think for like $5 or something like that. So we figured we'd give it a shot. But that was before I read any Valerian. I enjoyed the movie enough. It's not a fantastic movie by any stretch, but I thought it was entertaining enough. You know, yeah.
It's an action flick. Yeah, it's an action flick, which is plenty of things happening around it, and it's quite easy and quick following movie. Nothing only like groundbreaking, but if you like, sometimes the action movies when you watch and you don't want to think, your brain just goes past through the movie. That's perfect, basically. Yeah. In my opinion, that's how I feel.
Yeah, not fully.
When I need something to completely, you know, when you guys get, or like when I, for example, get really tired and I want to watch something, all the time, if I want to just kind of like wake up or give myself a spirit of like energy, I usually watch those kind of action movies. It gives me like, just like, it would kind of like, you know, because of that complete action all the time, and you're like, your brain starts to keep up with things, and you're like, oof, and suddenly you're like, oh, I have some energy left, kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, kind of in the same vein of what would you call it? Just fun sci-fi. I got 6 new comics this past Wednesday, and when I did my little comic review, I don't think I ranked Beta Ray Bill that high, but my brain keeps coming back to it, and I reread it And it's definitely not deep. It's just a fun comic, but the fun sort of grew for me as I thought about it more. And I love the quirky art. And I think this one page with the cutaway of the of Beta Ray Bill's spaceship is what sold me on it most. And as I looked closer at it, in this room here in the spaceship, someone is surrounded by candles and worshiping the picture of Jack Kirby. And in this room here is an artist drawing away. And I don't know, this might be the colorist up here in this room of this spaceship. Oh, and here's some people at desks. And if you look really closely, it says Marvel Editorial. It's just a playful comic it's just a fun, playful comic with this, you know, sort of doing bits and pieces of Marvel as if they were indie comic or a European comic, somewhere in between the two. And it's just a lot of fun. And it also eventually it turns out that Beta Ray Bill is going to be on a quest for this sword called Twilight, which is down in, I forget which Viking dimension, Muspelheim or something. Let's see, the Realm of Fire. So it kind of makes me think of like an Elric story or something like that. And he's kind of gathering these friends who insist on coming with him on this adventure. One is Scourge, the Executioner, who is usually a villain. And the other is Pip the Troll from the old Jim Starlin stories. I don't know how they've used Pip in recent times, if they've used him at all. So I don't know. It has a bit of the spirit of like Space Riders or something like that. And so there's some Norse warriors who guard some gateway into the fire dimension for Odin. Odin now does not rule Asgard. He runs a bar on some planet. There's Odin. It's all just kind of silly fun, but when it's the way it's drawn and everything just really makes it work for me. And so this is I think going to be my my favorite escapist comic for a while now until the miniseries is over. I don't know if it's 4 or 6 issues. And then I guess, should I spoil the end of the issue? I don't know. Anyway, a fun little twist at the end happens too.
So yeah, that one looks really good. I enjoyed the first issue enough, but it didn't grab me. That one looks like it
feels much more like an indie comic in the second one.
Cool.
So it is Daniel Warren Johnson's doing it all?
Yeah, well, he's not doing the colors, but he's doing everything else.
Oh, so he's writing as well, huh?
He's writing and drawing and inking. And then he does a little bit of the lettering, and then like just when there's some like fun bit of lettering like that. But normally they have a letterer doing it.
Yeah, I saw you in that video when you were talking about those your pull list. You were complaining about letters come too close together.
And maybe that's why the first time around, I mean, it seems silly that just the lettering, but maybe the first time around I was too distracted by being annoyed by the lettering. It's not in focus.
True.
But it was all sort of squished together and small and just didn't have much personality. So I suppose lettering is kind of a subjective thing too, as much as anything else. And other people might love this lettering, but yeah, it's sort of, as I thought about it, it was like, oh, I really like that scene. I like this scene. I think I'll reread the comic. So I don't always reread comics just because I have so many comics and so little time. But.
After you were talking about watching your videos, when I was reading my comic books, I was like kind of like taking more note of what kind of lettering it is, like a gap. It's like you probably put them like little information in my head. It's like, oh, really? Is it that so bad? Like, and it actually kind of it's the same thing. Lettering, coloring is kind of essential part of as well. So that's why you like when people don't mention them in the back or like on the beginning of the comic book, it's kind of like they still make the comic book, sometimes, And you would think it's just simple as letters, pick letters, simple, people will understand anything, but it does sometimes even give you the emotions and stuff like that. So it works very well. And I've never been a fan of Thor's lettering ever.
When they try to make it somehow look oldie-fashionedy or something.
Yeah, that Midgardian stuff, like I, thee, who, me, whatever, thee, whatever, that kind of things, like who speaks. So it takes my time for my brain to get hold of it. So yeah.
Yeah. So we're ruining Gore's dinner.
Oh.
But anyway, do you have something else you want to chat about, Rasa?
I'm gonna be. It seems to be I had to catch up with lots of things. It's the end of the month, so of course I'm gonna talk more new stuff because this is my time. Okay, my time. Anyway, so I realized that I haven't spoken or haven't even read this issue somehow, the issue 3, as we had in issue 4 just coming out. So I was really like, and I, like when you receive something like, I think I've seen this. Like I should have, and then I was like, oh shit, I haven't read it. So after reading this storyline, which was at first I was thinking, because it's a silent one, and I was thinking how much will I get into it because of the art. But then this thing got hold, like that robotic thing got into the scene. I started thinking, oh nice, so this is gonna be maybe a good ending of the storyline, and then da. He got me once again, and then the way it ended with that girl in the rubbish pile, I was like, no, don't do that to us. Like it's like an ongoing life circle thing, where everybody comes around and goes around. So there's a bit more of a style, very cartoony style, and I actually enjoyed this. I thought maybe sometimes you don't feel like it is, but it really suits this character. Like the way he's originally looks, and when he puts a like it's funny, which I need to find out when he puts makeup on. Oh yeah, so in this makeup on, it's like tiny little eyes, and then suddenly he puts makeup and the eyes just like blows up into all proportion. So I was like thinking it's kind of hilarious part. So yeah, it was very interesting, and I really liked. But reading that and reading straight away this story, I really thoroughly enjoyed it because straight away I knew where they were going with the scene here. So of course the movie Up from Pixar,
right?
And that is basically he has that in this whole story, that because of this how he's creating the story. What I really thoroughly enjoyed in this one is the art. And I know you were mentioning, I think, Sleepy, about the watercolors and stuff, but the motion parts and simplicity in conveying scenes, I thoroughly, every page I was turning, the clown became more and more intriguing to me. And in a way, at the end of it, it's scary how he's like goes to the kid's birthday, like clown's doing his job. Suddenly, he disappears, shrinks himself, and goes into the cloud, and there's this bizarre cloud scene where he's like, am I alive? Or kind of thing, like starting to, where am I? Why everybody's floating? And then it's like you have happy moments with Tiger and stuff like that, which I enjoyed it. But this story where we're going to celebrate his birthday and he's going to his grandpa's, and it's like, this cloud is following me, and why? And blah, blah, blah. And that keep on putting that, like a thingy in your head, and this creature when he's talking to him as well. So yeah, the Up part where they meet the granddad, and unfortunately grandma has died, and the house even almost looks the same. And they even mentioned that line, so this is like crazy dude decides to put balloons and it's gonna fly away. Yeah, sure, kind of thing, the granddad's feeling of. So yeah, it's absolutely, as I say, I thoroughly enjoyed it because of the movie. And I really liked the art style of this, as I say, simple lines, but so much like showing in the scenes in balloon and those yellow floating balls, like the faces. I kind of couldn't stop looking away from them. And like it's just interesting how like bad things happen. You have evil clown, or he's like himself and stuff like that. It's that kind of things. It just, I don't know. It feels like he's And then you have this happy moments where right at the end of the story you have this like, I'm like reaching the light, I'm gonna get there, I'm gonna be somebody, like, and how it ends, the story just like that. And you're like, huh? Where is he reaching? Kind of thing. But I don't know, I think I'm starting to get how he's writing now, and I'm becoming more and more of a fan, because it lets me kind of my brain itself like basically tells me a story what I am projected in here, and all this kind of little informations from the up really helped me, I guess, to understand the story a little bit in the way what I felt I could understand. You know what I mean? It's like it's a feel free kind of way. So yeah, I'm regretting not reading Ice Cream Man now, because the more I read of his the more I'm enjoying him.
It seems like the more you read of Prince's stories, the more you kind of get his weird aesthetic.
Yeah.
And this artist is like, where was this artist before? I want to find some other comics drawn by him.
Because
that art is incredible. That would be the reason I would pick it up, because otherwise I wouldn't pick up the next issue. But I really like that art a lot.
Yeah, it's a tentative colors, like you have a red background, but then you have those subtle yellows, blues, and they don't. With watercolors, you can lose a lot when it comes to the darkness and stuff. But it's like really light and precise, so the person wasn't overly putting too much color into it, but he made decisions when he wanted to, and it really helps this thoroughly. And this, you can interpret this balloon as okay, whatever you want to, as a dream sequence, as something really bad happened to the clown, which is presumably that's what it really happened. How he shrank himself, that's the only thing. Did he actually I was always debating how the guy could disappear. Did he fall down a cliff or something? Where do they live? And that kind of thing, in my head I was
I don't think Prince cares.
I don't think so
he
either.
Was just sucked inside the balloon, and that's just what happened.
And this clown with those teeth, that's just like the most freakiest stuff ever. That's where people freak out about the clowns, is that the grimacing thing. It's like, ugh! But it's really well, as I say, really well told. And this, how the old age of I was thinking, should I introduce my kid a kite as well? Because that would be something for me, would be quite interesting. I wonder these days kids are as interested. He wasn't interested in the kite as well. He got it as a present. It's like, huh? What is this kind of thing? And then I don't know, it doesn't work, and his grandpa comes in to help him how to actually, this is your grandmother how taught me. And that just, as I say, really, I don't know, it just really helped me like this story even more. And I really like this background of the story. There's this clown in
what's
charge.
The artist's name again?
I'll give you, hold on, the Patrick Howarth.
Howarth.
Yeah, Howarth.
Never ever saw that name, and he does watercolors much better than most watercolored comics.
Yeah,
he controls the colors, I think, in a way that works well on the comic book page.
Yeah, exactly. It's really, you can, as I say, you can really, they say, oh, watercolor is the easy part of the coloring. It's like bullshit. I mean, you can make
you have
really
to have incredible control.
Yeah, you can have a mess of it really easily. You have to be really precise where you want to put it in. And you cannot, the more you add the color, the worse it gets. But the next issue will be what I'm really curious about, because it's Walter. So he's from the Vision.
Right.
Yeah, so he has this interesting art style. So I wonder what kind of tale, especially this. There is this just storefront, and there's this old lady with a trolley thingy. So I wonder how freaky can they go, because Walter could, I think, be really good in the freaky, scary part of the storytelling, like the way he was doing the Vision. He was really working well for me in that sense. So Haha is definitely my eye-opening for him as a creator, and I think it's even more kind of you can hate it quite quickly if you don't let the story just flow in your head and just start to explain it to me kind of thing, that's kind of easy to say so. But I don't know, it's those little snippets I keep on finding in his stories. What is he telling? I'm becoming a fan of.
Yeah.
So, and Yeah,
I really want people to, if they can, seek out his 7 days at the library, because I think that gives you a real good feeling of his whole approach to storytelling.
Yeah.
But sorry, you were saying?
No, I just, as I say, I wanted to have those ice cream mans now, really more than I anything else. But it's really helpful to start reading this, honestly, if you can get hold of it. It's not as difficult to get hold of as it's ice cream man now. Yeah, but Gabriel Walter's next issue would be probably hit or miss, to be honest, for me, in my opinion, because I have quite expectations because of the artist. I don't know. I really wanted something creepy, hopefully.
Yeah.
Chris at Chaos and Comics is the one person who does not enjoy and I get his reasons.
I'm kind of on board. Like I said, the other ones, they didn't grab me. They just didn't grab me. But that one looks like I would definitely give it a chance. And it looks like that same artist did an issue of something called Love Machines, all done by one writer, Josh Trujillo, and an international team of artists. Stories of lives and loves touched by technology, by a company that I've never heard of. Lost His Keys Man Comics, which doesn't mean anything to me, but yeah. Not much on his credits, though, that I'm seeing online doing a quick search.
Yeah, this is, as I say, this every single time I was flipping the page, I was looking, I was like, at first you think, oh, very simple, nice, but then the more details he adds into, the more the characters introduce it to you, the simple glasses with the eyes, there.
Yeah,
you see, though, just that simple things, it just draws you in,
nice.
and I don't know. So I really like it.
Yeah. Cool.
Pocan Joe is here. Pocan Joe.
Hello.
Joe. And Jack Yo says yo. Whoops.
Yo.
So, Terrence, you got something else on your pile? Did you read as much this week as last week?
Not as much as last week. I still read a boatload, though. Yeah, quite a stack. But I mean,
we depend on you to read a boatload.
They were pretty short reads, some of them, right? Like stuff like this was a really quick read. Deadly Dalliance by Vittorio Giardino, the same guy that did that. Little Ego.
It looks like a Gore Vidal book. Oh, Little Ego is Gore was recommending that, right?
Right. So this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It has 6 short stories. And I loved this. This was fantastic. There were these kind of crime noirish based stories, but about couples and about relationships and stuff. And it starts you off. I really liked the way that it started off. This cheap thrill was just a kind of story about this couple who they take vacations separately. That's just the way that it is, right? So, but then you get a twist at the end of what happens on the vacation, and I don't want to spoil any of these stories. And it's a good story. It's not mind-blowing, but I think it really sets up the rest of the book incredibly nicely, because then every story after that has this real kind of underlying I don't know, man. It just has this underlying sense of unease to everything else, because now you're sort of prepared for what might be coming next. And then every single one kind of has a little twist that you didn't see coming. I think the second story was one of my favorites. Just the focus on this man on this trip, meeting this woman and kind of assuming this other life. She asks him to, because it's this really small place that they're visiting, or that she lives, she doesn't want any gossip around town, so she asks him to assume the identity of her husband, and people start calling him by that, so he starts feeling like that. Hello from Italy, nice to see you. Oh, that's awesome.
A fan of your guy there.
I love it. I really, really loved this book quite a bit more than I thought that I would. Because
is this an older book?
Was enjoyable. Sorry?
Is this an older book? Like, did you have to buy it used?
Yeah, this was another used one. I think looks like 1991 was January 91 is when this Catalan Communications edition came out. The art is gorgeous. You know, there's lots of there's nudity and stuff. There's definitely, this is an adult book for sure, but there's just these nice touches of the art. I love the shadows that are cast on those two guys there. Just everything is gorgeous about this. And like I said, the stories had me hooked. This was a really quick one sitting reading. It just flowed really, really nicely together. So I mean, if you come across this, don't hesitate. Don't let the cover turn you off by any stretch. And then it kind of talks about it a little bit there. 6 sultry, sun-soaked vignettes. Don't let any of that turn you off. I would say give it a shot, because it's well worth your time. But yeah, there's nudity galore in it, so just be forewarned.
So we know why you bought this one. Eh? You
Right,
just flip
exactly.
the page, you see what you see. There you go. That's what's for me.
Yeah. That's right.
Well, if you just have to
Afterwards,
look at the cover and see that woman's tush and
Exactly. That's right.
sold. No.
Well, and also again, like, again, it's the classic. It's Catalan Communications.
Yeah.
So it was a no-brainer, like, just to give it a shot, right? So they've been mostly hits for me. There's been ones that I haven't liked as much, but for the most part, it's all been really, really great stuff.
So it seems to be the catalog of that Catalan is quite massive if you keep on picking up something new all the time,
Yeah.
Interesting.
And they must have at some point had a big program to push it towards the English-speaking audience, and I don't think they're currently showing up in the U.S. market.
No,
so
I don't think so.
definitely
I think
have to get
everything is like 91, 92-ish, right in around there. Just kind of looking at the shelves, but I think that's where all of it was getting these English translations anyway. That kind of push at that time to get them into a different market.
So do you get those books like by recommendation from other, like those dealers you dealing with, or some, like how do you get hold of them? Because I, for example, even looking for them, like it's okay. Online, I'm having research. I will find anything really Catalan.
No,
at all, to be honest.
It's difficult to find them when I've done searches online. I can find them on eBay and stuff, but there's so many up there that are just so expensive that it just I can't afford it, But like I said, when this guy Greg had his new magazine list, he usually does, like, he'll list a book by the title, by the author, and then he'll put the publication, so I can search the list by Catalan. And it was just on this last list, he had a bunch, and I grabbed it all. I just figured I'm going to just, there was a couple of things I already had, but everything else, because he gives me such an incredible deal, like literally 50% off of whatever I buy, that it just makes it so affordable. And stuff like this, even when it's at full price from his list, well, this is a bad example. This was $15, but most of the time, like the Valerians, I think were priced, they were priced at like $5 a piece. So I'm getting it for $2.50. Like, it's a no-brainer for that cheap, right? It just, even if I don't like it, I've only spent a couple of bucks on it. So, and then there's no shipping, et cetera, right? So,
well, of course, I would pick those up as well, especially if you're getting that much chunk of the information. You see that when I bought this one as well, it's because of the price tag. At the end of the day, I just can go into it. It's less, less than what you want to invest into. But it's great especially if you're discovering something, but then you keep on showing those amazing European stuff, but then to find them, it's like, Jesus, dude,
no, it's super hard.
How do you find this stuff?
I'm surprised that it's showing up here. That's the thing. Like, I wonder where there must be someone in town that slowly, or a couple of people that are slowly getting rid of their collections, and they're just going through him, because I don't know where the hell this stuff is coming from, but I'm super glad that it is, because I think it would just be out of reach. It would be just too expensive.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's like you're lucky when people like just sell your collections. I'll buy them, especially if it's those little gems you find out, and especially it enhances your comic book reading. What I mean? So like discovering something new. Great.
Okay, well, completely different. I read Red Wolf #2 from Marvel from 1972.
Nice.
Beautiful Gil Kane cover.
Yeah.
Make myself full screen, which is why I bought it. I didn't really know much about Red Wolf. I knew that he started as a Western character and then they brought him in to the Avengers for a little while because they wanted a modern day Native American character.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wasn't really expecting much. It was just a cover by, and it was cheap.
Mm-hmm.
But inside, it's written by Gardner Fox and art by Sid Shores, who I only know as an inker on like old Jack Kirby comics and things like that. Sid Shores is quite a good artist, and Gardner Fox is sometimes a dull writer, but sometimes good, I guess, because this is really good. In a way, kind of your basic adventure story. Red Wolf rescues this girl, and she's prejudiced against him because he's an Indian, and she's very feisty, and obviously they're gonna fall in love. And she's overheard that people are gonna rob a stagecoach and steal dynamite so they can then blow up a bank safe. And he goes through a bunch of shenanigans to get her dressed up as an Indian so that they won't find her. And she's like, I don't want to dress up as a darn Indian and all of that. So it's very open of the fact that the whites treat the Indians badly. But then he wants to stop the crime anyway. So it's kind of like a superhero in the Wild West with this kind of romance plot and difficulty between different Indian tribes and between the white men and the Indians. I was really impressed by it. And he has a wolf, of course, who is his pet / partner that plays an important role. There seems to be a whole kind of group of heroes who have a sidekick who's a wild animal. Because I also read this week, I read a random issue of Khazar, which he very similarly is this wild guy with long hair running around, and he's got a saber-toothed tiger who is his loyal best friend and who helps him fight crime and also helps him fight crocodiles. There's a scene where Zabu, the saber-toothed tiger, is too much for 3 crocodiles.
Wow.
Or wait, they're alligators because for some reason they've been recruited to come help find Ted Sallis in the swamps of Louisiana, because this is a Man-Thing story. Ted Sallis is the person who became the Man-Thing, but no one knows it yet. So I think this is a very early Man-Thing story. And then in the middle of it is a sort of flashback for the Man-Thing the main story is drawn by John Buscema very nicely, and then the flashbacks drawn by Neil Adams. And it's the main script is written by Roy Thomas, but the flashback's written by Len Wein, which I thought was interesting because Len Wein is known as the Swamp Thing guy, not the Man-Thing guy. So they got kind of experimental with the art. I wonder if it was originally intended to be a black and white story and they excerpted part of it and used it here. As far as I can tell, though, it's not a reprint from another magazine. But, the Swamp Thing was originally in the black and white mag Savage Tales.
I'm sorry. Really great.
Yeah, so it's kind of a surprise in the middle of kind of the 4-color comic.
An amazing surprise, yeah.
Yeah. And at first I thought, well, this just must be filler, like a reprint. But when I looked online, I couldn't find anything saying that where this came from. And so it's kind of the story of, it connects to the main story eventually, where there's this one elderly scientist who realizes there's something about the Man-Thing that reminds her of Ted Sallis. And then before she can do anything about it, she gets shot. So no one knows that the Man-Thing can't speak, unlike the Swamp Thing. And
sorry, just to back up a second. So that
I'm being very confusing here.
Story. It's mixed in with the main story.
Yes, it's just like a flashback.
That's
in the main story.
Incredible! Wow.
So some scientists, for some reason, flew to the Savage Land and recruited Khazar and Zabu to come to the Everglades, or not the Everglades, I forget what you call the swamps in Louisiana, to come there and help them find the missing scientist, Ted Sallis, because they don't know that he's become the Swamp Thing. And so I don't know where this is in the Swamp Thing's chronology, but I assume it's his second or third appearance. But I don't really know. And it ends on a cliffhanger where the Swamp Thing and Khazar are going to confront each other. There's something really
Even the
fun
way
though.
Man Thing looks in there so much different than I'm used to seeing him.
Here or in the Neil Adams drawings, or
No, in
both?
both of them. In both, especially that last panel that you showed, though, with almost like the hairy arms and the bare hands.
Oh yeah, he's a bit kind of like a gibbon or something, some kind of monkey monster.
Really neat.
Yeah, so I need to double check where this comes. Like, I don't think the Man Thing had his own comic yet. But obviously they wanted to do a Man Thing story, and so they just stuck it into Khazar. But I just kind of love this thing where the animal is his best friend and is his partner. You know, it's like Captain America and the Falcon. It's Khazar and Zabu even gets his picture up here in the indicia, or whatever you call it, the trade dress. So somehow these two felt like a pair to me, but I was super impressed that Gardner Fox was kind of aware of all of it wasn't some fantasy of the wild. I mean, it is a fantasy of the Wild West, but it includes a lot of awareness of social issues and the difficulty between the different groups.
The Red Wolf apparently had 2016. They came out with some series. Red Wolf.
I wonder if they set him in the Wild West or in the present day. I bought Red Wolf number 7 also, and I haven't read that. And that one is set in the 70s. He just suddenly is there in the 70s. I don't think there's an explanation.
Time travel.
Pocan Joe tells me that the swamps are called the swamps.
Waka waka.
Or they may be called the bayou.
Yeah.
So anyway, I enjoy just stumbling across these things in old comics that I'm
very good.
Expecting.
Nice to find, especially.
Yeah, and this has really nice art by John Buscema too. And
yeah, but I think because of that back matter you showed, I think it's gonna be difficult. I'm already looking to see, because I've already wanted to see if I can get hold of it online, but it looks like not, because it's
really?
That's gonna be that's gonna be the next remake for us, I think.
This one I got real cheap. I think I told you guys off the air once that my shop got a whole bunch of a new set of old comics in, and when I bought them, they turned out to smell bad. And this is one of the bad smelling comics. And maybe that's why I got it cheap. And it's not in great shape. I mean, it's probably
but it would be no surprise if somebody knows about Neil Adams, because Neil Adams, the minute you mention that or like eBay selling, it's usually
it jacks the price up.
Yeah, it peaks up people's interest. So I wouldn't be surprised if somebody finds out. And
my shop owner, if he knows there's Neil Adams inside, will put a little sticker, in fact, saying Neil Adams art. But he didn't know. He didn't know on this one.
So that's why you got it lucky. So don't tell him. Shh.
Hopefully he's not watching.
It's like, oh, I remember saw your video, and now you owe me $5 more now. Yeah.
Zest legacy superheroes, meaning he comes from before the time of the Marvel universe, and that might be true. I don't know. I need to research. I don't know a whole lot about him. So yeah, we got to. It might be that he was someone who was around in old Western comics in the 50s or something, and then they revived him again during the Marvel age.
Yeah.
But I think particularly surprising was the Sid Shores thing. I don't know if you guys even remember him, but I only saw him as an inker. Like, he sometimes would ink on Daredevil and on some other comics. I can't remember what.
Interesting. Cool.
What do we got here? Well, Paulo is our resident historian, so he probably knows his stuff that it was during the 70s. Yeah, and I have the issue of the Avengers where he shows up there, but then I guess they continued him as a 70s character in his own book.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a tragedy around Sid Shores, or just tragic that he didn't get to do more pencils, maybe?
No, this John Paul Leone passed away, is what Scott was saying.
He is a really good artist. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, saying
I don't think he was old.
Years old, I think. 49 is what I just read.
Right. Wow.
Wow. That's no.
Debuted in Western gunfighters. He connected to tales of the Fort Rango. Yeah, Fort Rango is in this story. That's the fort, and he's a friend with one of the white soldiers there, but the white soldier doesn't believe him and doesn't help him. So maybe he's not a legacy character in that sense, and I'm not sure what the full definition of a legacy character is.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's go back in future in this time from
or the
past.
Present.
To the present. So what I'm talking about, I'm in future already. So
yes.
Sorry, I'm moving. But anyway,
You're the woman of tomorrow.
Yeah. So finally, I got hold of the serial too, but second printing. Anyway.
Ouch.
Yeah, but he said to me, "Do you want a second printing? Have it." I mean, he's still trying to look for get that first printing, the promised first printing for him. But he gave me this second printing, number 2 issue, so I can read basically. And I said to you, definitely, because I want to basically read the story. So this Terry Moore, like always, have some brilliant, in a way, drama. Or murderous scenes, those like documentaries, find the murderer kind of type of things, and he's kind of very good at it, doing that. And I was surprised after reading because I read issue 3, which came out recently as well, that it's not mainly that Zoe who's the person who kills Moan, mainly because that's what she's well known for, because she doesn't have a stop button. But then we have from the first issue where we had 2 murders happening, and then this Zoe is a friend apparently of this lady's husband. They grew up together apparently before Zoe turned to be taken over by that. Now I'm blanking. Because she's not aging anymore, so I'm not sure. I don't remember why she's not aging anymore, to be honest. But anyway, so basically she's the same age as she was, and then this lady who she's talking to is actually a school friend of hers, best friend of hers. And then so imagine you having a conversation with your best friend who is the same age, looking the same age as you were like when you were 10, and you're like 40 now, and she's like, oh, still dead. so that's kind of bizarre things. What I'm trying to say in here is that Terry Moore still continues telling the story of this crazy murdering female, apparently in the story, but it's not Zoe, which is kind of disappointing at the moment for me. But he has this twist of this female killer, which is, and she has this weird habit, which is is disclosed in both issues. So she's a glass blower, and apparently every person she kills, she puts something of them in this glass jar as a memento, and who she gives the memento to, that's what's really freaking me kind of out, to be honest. Which it shows in issue 3, which are the and it's kind of sad because she's really cruel. Another thing I wanted to say, this issue 3, it seems to be that Terry Moore's having issues with the apprentice. So we have this black and white art, like typical color scheme, but then in this one you have where's that page, which is looks kind of like grayish because it's like less tone in it. So it's just like kind of disappointed. Kind of like seems to be it's not happening there. So you can see is that the tone is not as black anymore. As you can flip the page and you'll see the difference.
Do you think he went straight from pencils or something?
I don't know. It's not. It shouldn't be like that. Basically, what I'm trying to say is shouldn't. I don't think it should be.
Or you think it's an accident of printing?
I presume so. I mean, if he's trying to tell a different timeline, it can't be, because this female killer I'm talking about, she's still the same age in here.
I see.
So I wouldn't presume it would be. But anyway, so
you got a badly printed second print.
Yeah, no, this is the first printing.
Oh, this
actually,
is
the third issue is the first printing. So,
okay.
And it still have like those badly printed issues. Anyway, so it's always becoming like in this story, is always becoming like more of a detective, because of the friend who she was talking to in issue 2, she got murdered. So this killer who Terry Moore is introducing to us is she has this weird way of justice, I guess, to behold on people, and there's some certain situations where what those people are doing, why they're killing them, apparently, what I understood in this couple of serial issues. So I was really hoping that Zoe would be a the one who's doing that crazy, weird, wacky killing. She's technically 55. So yeah, I forgot about that, about the possession of the demon. Yeah. So anyway, he's apparently having a different killer, but they're gonna cross the paths, of course, because this is always on the lookout. And Zoe's so this 10-year-old looking chick driving a VW bus around the town. So that's not suspicious at all. Like little kid in the bus driving around in the town saying hello, and then she always pretends that, oh, I'm waiting for my mom to pick her up, and then she has this like some sort of like lines like to put people off. There's this guy saying hello to her, and she's like, yeah, oh yeah, he's asking something. She was on the phone and she got really pissed off. Or she wasn't on the phone. She said, I'm on the phone, because she was listening to conversation, because she was putting some bug into to get information. And then he's like, hello. This guy says hello to her. It's like, I'm on the phone. And she's like, what are you looking at? Such a young lady. What are you doing in here? And she's like, I'm waiting for my mom. And then she has this like line. I forgot the line was saying, my dad was doing something to my mom or something. And he felt really awkward. Like, okay, I'm going away from you, because she has this horrible line. But that's why I liked Zoe from. But yeah, I'm getting a little bit frustrated with the series because of I'm not getting it. This now third issue has this duller looking pages. Like I'm trying to my best to support it, but sometimes I just wanted to receive all the stuff correctly. I mean, I understand there's some problems with things, especially a person doing himself, and now pandemic doesn't probably helping me either, like printing situations. And of course, people are taking advantage of, the first printing, because it's so small printings runs. The first printing, if it's had damaged, now everybody on eBay starts to selling the first printing number 2 for like 15-20 pounds. It's like, bastards, taking advantage of everything. Yeah,
definitely small press kind of problems going on.
So what go without saying is definitely Terry Moore's a strong suit. And I think when you read those Strangers in Paradise, you'll notice that what some people would say mundane conversation or daily life, what people don't like to read it, it's just what twists he gets into in the conversations like you get. And I really like that. It enhances his characters really well. And then you start to get to know them kind of more. You get invested in them more. And I think that really works for him as a standalone creator, because when you start to invest in characters, you kind of want to support him more of his work, whatever he's doing. So it's just what I read as well. Oh, thank you.
You got John in your corner.
Oh, thanks. Anyway, so yeah, it's just driving nuts with that kind of stuff, that people taking advantage. Even the people, your daily sellers, like your normal sellers, like online, there's sellers who are selling new comic books, and you get your pullers. Apparently, they themselves increase the price because we can't miss out. If somebody's selling for 15, then everybody else will sell for 15. So, and hopefully
that really sucks.
Yeah, and hopefully my comic guy maybe will find, because he says he's still looking for it, which is amazing if he's even trying to do so. I bet it's frustrating for him, but it's also frustrating for us because of like I'm, his customers, like you are if I'm frustrated, that means his business is gonna go. So he's trying to do his best, but what can you do if you apparently his box was so smashed with those comic books that it wasn't even worth saving, kind of thing.
Yeah, if the system doesn't work, they tell you order your comics in advance and you'll get them, and if it still doesn't work, then they're in trouble.
Yeah, but all those publishing house now, if Marvel went to Penguin, isn't it, that the other company? Now there's some rumors saying that the Diamond workers are working for Penguin now, so it's like somewhere I read it. But anyway, the troubles of your new police people getting your books. I get like a couple, and then I get problems like, what? I'm getting like 5 books a month. For God's sake, give me those 5 books a month.
Yeah.
Am I asking so much? 5 books a month?
You wouldn't think
my
so.
own choosing. My own choosing, though. So, okay, chip on the shoulders. All right, let's go forward.
Sure, but I mean, it is frustrating, especially like you said, if you're only getting a few books, like you want what you want, and it's disappointing. So yeah, and especially with some of this stuff, like if you miss out, that's it. Like you're saying, then all of a sudden it's $20 book. It's like, well, I had it on my pull list when it was $4.99. So yeah,
exactly. Here's the thing. It's there's a couple of sellers who basically just taking like as long as you make your extra $5, like that's the whole deal, and that's the problem these days. Comic book releases, something gets like hot or a low print run, and here you go, they're just skyrocketed. And especially for people who's doing it, purchasing online stuff, we're most likely to miss out because you don't go to comic book shops and just look for, some guy gonna maybe have it in one corner and decides like, oh, okay, I don't know what it is all about, and we're just gonna give you for normal price like you're supposed to.
Yeah, and if the system doesn't work, you're going to lose the readers. You might still have the investors for a while, but then you're going to lose the readers.
And for him, especially for Terry Moore, I mean, the one guy's business at the end of the day, like when he's like, I see you guys buying those catalogs of Diamond, he's right at the bottom, like at the end of the Diamond catalog, like this, he's still trying to do his own things, but you like look for him in that catalog, which is like 500 pages, and he's right at the like 550, 60 or 9 page. There is plaster day.
It used to be that many pages anymore. I don't know if it's that many pages anymore with everybody abandoning ship. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Sooner or later will be 20 pages, like a comic book.
Yeah.
Catalog!
Yeah.
Well, that I want, because I use previews to place orders with my shop. If that goes away, it's going to be a lot harder to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess Terry Moore puts out a weekly video. It says that issue 5 is going to print on Monday. I also, on one of his videos, heard him say that it was planned as a 10-issue book, but now they're thinking of expanding it to 15 because the sales have been quite good for those who can get it.
Yeah. I say this character is always a lot of people's favorite one, and the way that he's put her into pages and how she interacts with people is fantastic, as I say, for being this like clever in her, because of course she's so experienced, but with a child's face, you can get away with lots of things to tell, like can scare a lot of people. Just this 10-year-old speaks to you the way you're like, how do you know this stuff, kind of thing, like I'm so clever and stuff. I've seen things, so. But those character he's trying to do, the killer, she's freaky. I mean, that's the thing with his like art style. He's like really beautiful, like nothing different, like that's the scary part of it. Anybody can be next door to you and you never know who he is. It's like really placing that in comic book really well. So you never know what kind of neighbor do you have. It's like nice costume guy going to office every single day, and in the nighttime you never know what's gonna be up to. And you're like, oh, so yeah.
Let's see. A lot of people are talking about John Paul Leon still.
Yeah.
But there's been such a long chain of it. But obviously that's had a lot of people thinking he was a little bit under the radar, but not too much. And I think people would have liked a lot more of his work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that because he's having that on the back of his every time there's an advertisement, which is, if you guys, he has this nice omnibus style, even the softcover ones. If you can't get hardcover ones, the story is really fantastic. I think it's still because it's one of the first things I read of it. I think it's one of my favorites still, even though Strangers in Paradise it goes really close to second of his stuff. But Rachel Eisen was the first thing I read of him, and it's really good. Fantastic story. Well worth time.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
3-issue,
definitely.
the original 3-issue miniseries was in the collection I was selling, like the gold reprints, not the originals. So like one of the 5th printing or whatever the heck it was. And I sat and read those a couple of weeks ago. They were really solid. I really enjoyed that first kind of introduction to it. I thought it was really great. I didn't go any farther. He had some random issues here and there. He didn't have the entire run, but it was nice to sit and kind of dip my toes in. And somebody earlier was saying that it was a little kind of Hernandez brothers feeling, and it felt like that to me a little bit, like again coming into these are fleshed out characters kind of world. And
the one thing I appreciate is all the females. Most of he does let his comic books female leads. I really like that, of course, as a female. It's nice to see that he's most of them is all the time, and the males are usually just in the background there, like.
Right.
It's so funny. It's like in this issue 3, you have this guy who's just saying, good guy comes to you, like he looks really weird though, with this mustache. It's like very 1970s, and what he's wearing, and it's just a good guy comes to help this girl in a tennis outfit, and then what she does to him, he goes under her car, and then she just clanks the support beam and he smashes him with the car, basically. She just the way she kills it, and you're like, oh my god, that woman is like, she doesn't have no problems in killing this guy, because he's like, she's asking these weird questions to him. So oh, thank you for helping me, and she basically made that scene on purpose to catch him, because that's how she kills in the storyline. She has this because I'll spoil it a bit. So if whoever hasn't read the serial, spoiler alert, she kills the men who have sex with teenagers. So all the murders she has done yet was done because those males are suspected child how you call it?
Short eyes. They're suspected short eyes. Yeah.
So basically this guy especially, who was like, okay, this looks like a random scene, but this on purpose scene is she made it in so she can catch him. And she starts to asking these weird questions, and you're like, and for sure this guy is going to be squashed by that car, because there's no way she's having, like, you have like an old friend, if you're going to fix it, you're going to get those nuts underneath my car, and then I'll give you buy your lunch, and then while he's going for each, I'm going to try my best because I am a gentleman at the end of the day. And you have a scene where he's looking at it underneath her skirt, and then she has a question, and it's like, and you're like, oh boy, dude, you shouldn't have answered that. Like, you shouldn't be there, you shouldn't go, and then splat. It's just like, as I say, love reading his stuff, but let's hope it's going to continue more. But let's go get that Zoe get together, and you have this 2 female like attack, and how Zoe would be cleverly to get hold of her. But because there's a police person who's basically catching the murderer, and there's a Zoe who's doing her detective work, and of course there's going to be a clash of 3, of course, because this is how the story is going towards it. So really good. I like reading his stuff, but so quick. Can't believe it. It's like 90, like Damien says, 19 like page counts. It's like so small and reads so quick, and you're like, I want more. Just give me more. But then you're like, he does it everything himself. I'm just telling to myself, he does everything to himself. What you expect, you get the stuff you get quite often, hopefully, in enjoy yourself kind of thing. So
yeah.
Anyway,
a nice chunk. Cool. So not to talk about it too much before I just wanted to say I picked this up today. And
no way! Damn you!
I read I'm already 25 pages in, and
oh, you bastard! Both of
man,
you, go! I'm switching the camera off. I don't want to watch you.
I won't be talking about it because I'm not even anywhere close to being done. I'm only 25 pages in, but I know that already I get an idea that I'm going to love this book. This is really, really good so far. Highly recommend it if you haven't.
While
I don't know if I'm going to love it. I'm 40
Okay.
pages in, and I'm not in love with it yet. There's bits I like, but we'll see. But I may be in the minority there.
Both of you, shush. Yeah. Now show me a page.
I'll show you a page, yeah.
Oh, here, I'll make...
yeah, go on. You start showing it off, and then like... Okay.
There's the pages there. It's... I'm with it. I'm with it so far. I'm enjoying it. This is going to be a bit of a slower read, I think. It's going to be...
It's definitely a different kind of comic from him than what he once did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's going to take a bit of digesting. You know what I mean? Like for me anyway, I feel like I'm going to need to just read chunks of it. So I figure, you know, maybe 25, 30 pages. If there's a natural break, I'll just kind of take a break. But so far, I'm really glad I picked it up. It was the only copy because I went to 204 Comics today to pick up my couple of comics that I have there on a pull list. And he only had the one copy on the shelf. So I grabbed it. And as I grabbed it, there was another guy saying, oh, I was just about to go around and pull that off the shelf and have a look at it. So like, sorry, man, I'm not passing this up because I have a feeling that it's not going to last very long.
Go for that. I've been debating the whole week, like whatever I found out that it's coming out. Somebody showed on Twitter thing, or I don't know, whatever it is. And I've been debating, should I go? And I've been online, and then like, but no, and I changed my mind, and then like go back. No, I changed my mind again. I'm not sure. I really want to see his stuff because I am a fan, but because this is what they're calling it. He's coming back to comic books.
His magnum opus is
his
what
masterpiece,
they're calling it on the back.
And he says he's never going to do anything more after this.
Oh,
now,
is
whether that's true or not, but that's what he said in an interview I saw with him.
I see.
Yeah, it took him like what, 11 years or something to do this book.
I guess his last published work was 16 years ago.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So I don't know, you know, and it may have, the early gestation of this was probably before then, because it was supposed to be a Hulk story at one point.
Yeah. And you can see that even 25 pages in, you can see that it would be
how it could be. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it definitely feels like a Fantagraphics book to me in the sense of it doesn't have that commercial comics pacing to it anymore, if it ever did.
It looks quite heavy bubbles as well to read. A lot of things.
Yes, a lot to read on each page.
I found it read really smoothly, and it was one of the things that I noticed. I don't know, maybe I'll get lucky. Maybe I'll get lucky here. I found it, these pages, like this is no spoiler by a long shot. This is literally like page 2 and 3. Stuff like this I found really great as well too, because
those were great pages. Yeah. Heavy
opening scene, and the father that's just angry. You can see word balloons. They're almost like gibberish to some degree. It's unbelievable.
Were those word balloons in English? I couldn't tell.
They didn't seem to be.
It's
not.
I wasn't even sure if that was his father or not, but I guess it was.
Fair
and
point. Yeah, I'm absolutely assuming that it's his father. That's a total assumption on my part, or stepfather anyway. And
I'm after I read further in, I realized, in that opening scene, she has just caught the father destroying her son's eye or something.
Ew.
Or I don't know exactly how or how he did it, but very disturbing.
Okay.
So it's definitely,
but anyway, the way the word balloons are laid out in a couple of spots, I found really, really nice. It was a real natural flow for me where I didn't feel lost, even though you were kind of coming to the bottom of a panel and it was bleeding into the next one and you had to jump up. I found it read really well so far. I didn't find it threw me off. But like I said, I'm still barely scratched the surface of it. So we'll see how it goes from here. But I'm liking it so far.
Pocan Joe liked it. I'm finding it's something I'm going to have to read in small chunks. I think it's too intense for me to read all at once.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there you go. It took place Thanksgiving past on.
She said no. Wow.
So it's been gestating since 1984.
Uh-huh.
Interesting.
That's impressive.
And Scott. Sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah. No,
Scott Connor mentions he has these books that came out from Fantagraphics called Opus. I didn't know there's a volume 2, but it's pretty clear in those that he had kind of a mental breakdown. At least that's how I interpreted it, as he mixes art with autobiography in Opus.
Crazy.
Interesting.
The one to talk about that I read last night was the Ranks of the Black Order by Bilal and Christian.
Bilal.
Yeah. And this is the other ones that they had together was The Town That Didn't Exist and The Hunting Party, both of which I read. The Town That Didn't Exist I really enjoyed. The Hunting Party not as much. This one was this was a hell of a read. This kind of far left and far right group. They're now old, and this far right, I guess, group goes and visits this town and basically kills everybody in the village, burns the town to the ground, and it was the battle site. It was one of the sites of kind of a fight between our two kind of main groups of people. So the Ranks of the Black Order are the quote unquote bad guys of the story. So then it kind of our main character here, who works at a newspaper, catches wind of it and decides to basically get the team back together so they can go and teach those bastards one last lesson. So we just get the first few pages where they're all he's getting everybody back together and just reminiscing a bit, and then once they do get back together, there is some really it's darkly funny at some points. And it's also really sad, and it's pathetic, and it's kind of like it gave me all of these feelings and uncomfortable. And one of the parts that I laughed out loud when they all finally meet together, they're sitting and kind of reminiscing and having drinks together, and basically their handler that's going to take them to the next part to meet their next person basically loads them up on a bus. So it really gives you this feeling of these old people going on kind of like a tour as they're kind of shuffled from one place to another. Really, really funny because they're complaining about having aches and pains. One of them is catching a cold. They're having to kind of trek up and down the sides of hills with a bunch of packs on their back, and their knees are giving out, etc. It was a hell of a read, man. You don't get the sense that you really start to get the sense that everybody they're kind of fighting this fight that just isn't important anymore. Yes, this group did something horrible, but even when they try to elicit the help of kind of the younger generation of leftist extremists, they're just not interested. They don't care. They don't want to help them. They don't care about this Black Order. They have other things that they're working on, and they sort of humor them as our kind of tour group of oldies is shuffling around city to city and making contact with people, and again, just reliving their youth. It's a hell of a story, man. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what to think about it when I finished it, other than it definitely leaves you with a little bit of, well, what's even the point then? What's the point of believing in anything? What's the point of, like, it definitely had that feel for me.
Is it kind of a comedy, a black comedy, along with other elements?
There's black comedy moments in it for sure, yeah. But I think it's also, it's a pretty heavy critique on kind of fighting, like going to these lengths, to actual violent lengths for your beliefs. Because there's, as they're going through, there's people dying left and right as they kind of carry on, even people in their group, people outside of their group. There's all of these things that happen to them and around them as they're kind of traveling through. So it was a hell of a read. Not a huge volume, 80 pages. And then what he also does is he includes some art that's kind of like these old photographs in the front, and then in the back there's it looks like a photo. Yeah, I mean that's a photo with people's, or at least it looks like a photo anyway. So I don't know, and this is part of it that's maybe that I don't know as much about, because it takes the kind of premises the Spanish Civil War. So I imagine that there's characters in here that are real life historical figures. I don't know that for a fact. The names didn't resonate with me, but that's just due to my own ignorance. But it didn't stop me from enjoying it, because it was a hell of a read. It was very, like I said, not the happiest of tales, but the moments that were darkly funny were really laugh out loud funny for sure.
Huh. Well, that sounds very intense.
Yeah.
Bilal always seems very intense to me. Just look at a few drawings of his.
Yeah.
It's way
for sure,
down
man.
with intensity.
Yeah. He's got a way.
Is Christensen the writer then, or did they co-write it, or?
From what I understand, I don't believe Bilal had any part in the writing of it. I think it was the Pierre Christian, right? That's his first name, Pierre, I believe.
Is that someone you've heard of before? Because I haven't heard of him.
Yeah, he only gets credit for the art, not for the writing. And then this was 1979 is when this version. Oh no, sorry, this came in 1989. So I guess 1979 was the original version of this story.
Yeah, when I randomly pick up issues of Heavy Metal, Bilal is still in there, still going strong, but it's always little snippets of an ongoing story, and I never know what's going on. But
yeah. I think this was the last thing that they worked on together. I believe this was the last time they worked together.
Cool.
Very good.
Well, I read a Pacific comic called Twisted Tales. With this, I gotta make myself big. With this incredible Bernie Wrightson cover, and they brag in the editorial that when they Wrightson wasn't really doing comics anymore, but he was or wasn't doing regular comics. He was working with Stephen King and stuff like that. But they convinced him to do a cover, and he said, and Wrightson asked, "What are the restrictions?" And they answered, "No, none." And Wrightson said, "No, I mean." The real restrictions. There are none, we iterated. No, he pressed. I mean, what can't I draw? So this is apparently Bernie uncensored. Now it seems relatively tame, actually. But yeah, I guess this was something he couldn't draw for other comic book companies with all these heads and a guy chasing some kids with an axe. It's funny that it's so beautifully drawn, such a horrible image, but and this is a package. It's one of those ones that everything in it is written by Bruce Jones, but it's all drawn by different artists, and that's what gave me so much pleasure. The first one was Mike Plug, who they also say at this point had left comics for Hollywood, but they drew him back to just have fun and draw an issue of or draw a story in Twisted Tales. So maybe Twisted Tales at the time had a reputation as like a cool place to come and do some art, even though you were now too cool for the comic book marketplace. And this, I have to say that I loved the art in this issue, and the writing by Bruce Jones was not always his best. Particularly, there was a running thread of sexy sluts who are kind of evil. Like this woman in the Mike Plug story. Although if you don't mind, I'll spoil it at the end. So she just keeps demanding more and more of this guy who she's making pay for sex and then making him buy new furniture and new stuff. And in the end, he drowns her by accident in a moment of rage. And then he goes to, then he's worried the cops are onto him, and he goes scuba diving to find her body to weigh it down more so it won't float up. But in the kind of a clever twist at the end, he's just been in his rooming house all along playing with dolls and then killed himself by accident in the aquarium. So that was a really good twist, but I felt uncomfortable with the portrayal of the woman.
Oh, that's funny. I want that issue now.
And then there's a Val Mayrick story, or Val Mayrick drawn story, also by Bruce Jones, about a girl who's the beautiful girl in some backwoods, swampy, hick southern, the cliche of the southern backwoods town. And she's the town slut, but the town rich boy wants to marry her. And her parents find out she's gotten pregnant and doesn't know by who. So they take her to the swamp witch woman to get an abortion.
Of course they did.
And apparently, at least in this version, when you get an abortion, you spit it out of your mouth. And the witch woman catches it in a cup, and the dad says, "Oh no, you're not getting this abortion," and throws it out to the window into the swamp. But but the witch woman does get the abortion, and that's what it quickly looks like, a giant swamp monster.
Oh my God.
And it comes back and kills all the hick boys who I guess were her lovers and now want to rape her. This is just kind of disturbing stuff. And then she's running away from the swamp monster, although I think it wants to protect her. And her clothes are all ripped off, and she runs into a building, which turns out to be the church where everyone is waiting for her to get married to the nerdy rich guy. And that's the end of it. The swamp monster's banging on the door, and she's laughing crazily, and that's the end of the story.
Jesus.
Wow.
No wonder they call Twisted Tales, eh?
It was quite twisted, yeah. Mm-hmm. But there's definitely a sense of anger at sexy women who use their bodies in ways you don't like as a man or something. I don't know. But it's really nice artwork by Val Mayrick. A lot of the colors in here are by Steve Oliff. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how they were doing colors back then because, there were no computers or anything. But they definitely get a different color style than the typical comics in 1983. I think this was. Let me see. Yeah, 1983. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like the colors look really nice on the Plug one too.
Yeah, very good.
And Plug, I think, is drawing on his Will Eisner kind of style here, because he got his start as an assistant to Will Eisner before he came to Marvel Comics. Mm-hmm. And at Marvel Comics, you can tell most of his art is kind of rushed. So this gives us kind of Mike Plug when he's not rushing his art. Mm-hmm. And another twist one is by an artist I'm not a big fan of, but he seemed to be popular. I remember in the 80s, he was in Epic magazine and Heavy Metal a lot. Ken Stacy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Ken Stacy. I'm not sure what it is. I just don't click with his art. And he did his own coloring, which I think is kind of dark. But it's these soldiers who every night have to go across the sand dunes and battle rats before they get to the castle. And the twist, I'm giving all these twists away. I hope you don't mind.
I think I know what it is.
The twist is they're toy soldiers.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
But it's a grim and gritty war thing. Oh, and actually, I almost forgot. There's an even greater treasure in here, and I think Terrence will particularly appreciate it. And maybe do you already have this issue, Terrence?
I have that series. Yeah, I've got a bunch of that stuff, but I haven't. Honestly, I haven't read
There's
it.
a Rand Holmes drawn story in here.
Yeah, sweet. And
Rand Holmes is an incredible artist. He just kind of forgotten in the mists of time in general, except by fans of underground art.
Right.
And I don't know how many more of these Pacific Comics stories. I now want to find all the issues and see. Well, I would want all the issues anyway, but it would be great if there's more Rand Holmes in here. Mm-hmm. He just has this twisted art style. It's a little bit like Wally Wood, but just really twisted. And this is a really twisted story about this couple who forces the cab driver to drive faster and faster while they have sex in the back of the car. And they keep throwing more money at him to force him to drive faster or convince him to drive faster. Mm-hmm. And it ends in an accident and he dies and they're fine. And the last scene is they're going to, they find another cabbie. They just walk away from the wreckage of the first one and find another cabbie. And they say, The last line to the cabbie is, "My girlfriend likes it fast." It's a lot of sort of slutty women in this book, but
Yeah, it looks like it.
But man, I want to get more Rand Holmes. He is incredible.
Yeah, Rand Holmes is unbelievable. He's so good.
Mm.
And as maybe most people know, he was like one of the leading underground cartoonists from Canada during the early 70s, I think. And did he die young? I feel like I read he died young.
I'm not sure of how old he was when he died.
And he looks really good in color, and he just puts so much detail into it.
Yeah, it's great.
Really nice.
Fantastic.
So yeah, now that I've talked about it, I like this issue better. I was feeling kind of queasy about all the bad girls in here. But
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, Bruce Jones is good at being twisted, and he really could attract all the best artists. I mean, when you think, this is the low budget, small press comics, but it's got all these incredible artists.
Mm-hmm.
And they mention in here a flood in their warehouse, and I think that was eventually their undoing.
Right.
So, and they published an Al Williamson book, I guess. And there's the first the appearance of Captain Victory. So anyway, it's really fun to find these things.
Yeah.
And no doubt I bought this quite a while ago, but I'm sure it was after watching some video of Terrence's and being reminded, oh, wait a minute, I better look for the oh, there you go. I had that comic when I was a kid.
So this is
not a kid, I'm sorry. When I was a kid in college, I had a Harold Head collection.
This is the treasury-sized collection, or bigger than treasury-sized, actually, collection of the Harold Head stuff. So in the Georgia Strait, they wanted a Freak Brothers type of cartoon. They wanted a Freak Brothers type of strip. So this is Rand Holmes, like the collection of his Harold Head, which was kind of the Canadian version. And then there was some single issues as well, too. I think it was a 2-issue mini or a 3. Hitler's cocaine and that sort of thing. So lots of drugs, lots of hippies. It was, it's classic, this one. Yeah. It
might have been John's recent video that reminded me of Rand Holmes. And then I was excited when of all places, I was not expecting him to see him there.
Yeah.
And I guess he died at age 60. Whoops. There we go. Which seems pretty young to me now because I'm 59. When I hear about people dying at 60, I'm not too happy about it.
And yes, DaCosta, I do have that one. It's isn't it called All Canadian Beaver Comics or something like that?
Hey, Oregon is the beaver state, so we have something in common.
You're talking the animal beaver there, Damien?
Yes. Well, I assume. I don't know. I didn't name the state or nickname the state. Maybe it works two ways.
Comic might be about something else.
That's two twisted things, huh? Oh,
it's here somewhere.
You naughty.
Hey man, I didn't write the comic. That's just, I'm just telling it as it is.
I thought it was a comic about nature. I didn't, I didn't catch on.
Oh, it's natural, all right.
Okay, let's go back down to
back down to something calm.
That's where we were from. Anyway, I'll talk about. Oh, wait. Yeah, I'm going.
It's your turn. If you have
because Darren started showing things. My brain went scrambled. Like, your turn again.
If you have something that's non-beaver related to pull out, go ahead.
Oh wait, animals. I think I'm not mentioning this enough. I mean, I do read this monthly, and then this is a couple of 2 months. Turtle books continues, and I continuously enjoying it. It's this one is time traveling sort of storyline where one of because of whatever happens in the story where mainly people were reading it because it's really good. It's into 100s, so now it's 115. So there's this part of the town where lots of people were turned into animals. So you have that mutant town now in this New York, I guess, whatever that, like area where turtle in New York, of course, because it's a turtle place anyway. And then there's a time travel where one of the kids who has been like an orphan, like kids turned into animals, and she's her name is Talita, and she apparently her future self comes into this timeline where basically she's trying to help the future, because where she's coming from, turtles aren't together anymore, and they're trying to change this timeline so the future will be better for her, and she's doing that without support from the timeline she's coming from, but she's still, because of the love of family of the turtles, she's still trying to change it and gets help from this timeline turtles. So it's interesting tale so far. It's really good, where still continues being what I like about turtles. The art is continuously being superb, and that's the pink.
Yeah, I really like the look of that.
Yeah, the pink turtle is that Alita girl, so she's the future one. And basically she was brought up by turtles because of those. They took over and helping, because that mutant town, basically all the people who got turned into animals, they basically are like blockage from the main, they shoved aside basically from the existence and boarded out kind of thing, and they have to basically survive. So yeah, it still continues being really good storyline. And I really enjoy Turtles. I just wanted to show you guys the art, and then continue like I am continually supporting, and also and the story basically of the future or helping of the future will end in the battle of the bands, because Rocksteady and Bebop is causing a big hassle, and our new turtle. I forgot, I'm blanking her name now. I know that Talita wants all the names and me. So she's a female. Where everybody went like going, oh, first appearance of new turtle. So she's now a new turtle. So we have 5 turtles now in this timeline of turtles. So she's the one who's basically needs to that one person who is basically, because of her, Jenica. Yeah, thank you, Dakos. So Jenica is the one who is basically a catalyst of that. So she's gonna be because she's having demons in her head, or she's becoming like she's feeling like she's gonna become an evil turtle, like because of the whatever, how she has to deal with things, like becoming from being a human, surviving, because she got injected blood from one of the turtles, and she turned into turtle as well. So yeah, definitely fantastic, as I say, so far. And it has the twist of happiness as well, because of they always keep on trying, but they're also struggling because now Splinter is not there anymore, and they they keep on trying to continue the legacy and stuff like that. And there's new characters coming into fruition, things happening. That's how you develop a story in film one. But they continue keeping my attention. I'm a fan, okay, and it's easier to keep my attention because I'm a fan. But it has such a good feeling from issue to issue, and I always because I'm so certain. Sometimes I don't read this, so I tend to wait for 2 months and read 2 issues together, because it just enhanced the story for me. But I know I'm not gonna be disappointed. I never have. So since I'm continuously reading it, it's now 116, and I'm going strong, and I'm continue investing time and money into this. And people who ever read them in trades, in those hardbacks, which I kind of would like to double dip, but I'm never committing to, because there's quite a few of them now. But everyone I heard read them, they also get really excited, because honestly, it has that I don't know, as long as you know what Turtles is all about, it just gives you that wanting more, because it just continues having that hassle of them being who they are and how they, they are surrounded by, like humans, and then now with this mutant town comes into new problems where supplies the shortages, like because they're so boarded off from everybody else because there was a disease basically spread like a gas thing where it turned them into mutants as well. And as you see those, like a girl, a student, she turns into animals and she has this phone conversation with, like a FaceTime conversation with her parents. So parents are disgusted because she's an animal and they don't want to hear anything about it. Like, you died in that time and we're not, and she has to basically survive. And there's those kids, orphan kids, like all sorts of like parts of life, and Turtle still trying to help them dodge her, but they're struggling because they're brothers and they're always so bitter. Now we have a sister who is there and she has her own problems. So this kind of dynamic of the stuff, which I like reading. And it's because, as I say, I'm a fan, so
yeah,
it really gives me that good sense of feeling when some comic books disappoint you. Those tend not to. Like I always give no matter what kind of storyline it seems to be, it's like maybe too easy to read, like maybe it's a bit kiddie, but still it leaves me having a good feeling about it. So
yeah, it seems like Turtle fans are very happy with the IDW run, which has gone on so long now. Seems to keep people satisfied.
Even the people who has not read it for a while goes back, jumps into, because of, as I say, those traits, they look fantastic. They look very uniform. They have this really well made out hardback covers, and every single one of them you just read and you continue wanting more. People are sometimes complaining, oh, there's different change of actors, but you know what? It's not like Marvel. Every a few pages you have some different artists. They do have the Campbell. She was like. They were saying in the part where saying like she's gonna leave. It seems to be Campbell are going strong now. A lot of fans are asking her to stay because she gives you a different dimension, a female perspective maybe. Because we have two female like now characters. That's Alita, little white turtle, like albino turtle looking. She in this timeline where the turtles are now. She's like a child, like maybe 4 or 5 years old. And then she's like looking up to turtles and then like wanting to be such a badass. And then you have this future coming in who's, I'm a badass, but I have a problem because you are douchebags and come and help me kind of thing. So yeah, it's great. As I said,
sounds very cool.
And I was like, I never mentioned really when we were chatting here. So I was like, I have to mention them here. Because at the end of the day, show people, I know this is popular, but there could be more popularity for them at the end of the day. I want them to go strong.
Have you been reading this series from the beginning, or did you jump in at some point?
No, I jumped in issue 30.
Issue 30. And what are they at now, like 110 or something?
I regret since because of I wanted to jump from number 1 issue, but I was stupid. But they came out, I remember clearly in my head, why wouldn't you pick up Turtle number 1? That's like stupid. And I was watching videos, people raving about that series, and I was like, issue 30. And I was like, I was like, issue 30, really? You're going to jump issue 30, go look for more. And I could never find any. And I was like, fuck it, I'm doing issue 30. Since issue 30, I never stopped and I never regret. I went through it. Even now, I'm going through the, like my collection. I can go through and I remember even all the covers reminds me of a storyline. It's kind of weird. Not many comics do that, but those does. So nice. Committed.
That's so great when that happens, right? Like, because I hear you. It's nice to have a series or something you can go to where it's just that it's that comfort zone. But that's so good. That's the quality of some of this stuff, right? Looking at the cover and you remember what the story was. That's really cool.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just I don't know. I'm really glad. I don't care how long they will go. I think if you're gonna go to 150 issues, I'm still. Even when I was debating, could you be like, like I was talking about your pull list shrinking and stuff. The turtles never came into my mind. So I was thinking, how I'm going to tell him? I just want 1 book a month? That's kind of weird. So I kind of kept it 5 or like a couple more. So it doesn't, because in my head, I was like, will I pull 1 book? Really? No, it's not. So I decided to pull some other ones, which I'll show you another one, which is appeared after a year later, which I'll talk about you in whatever my turn is going to come. But yeah, this turtle is my comfort zone. Like really, like if I want something to pick me up, I'll read that. I'll feel really happy after that. So it's if I'm in the bad mood, I should definitely go for the Turtles read. It's really good for me. So yeah.
Nice.
Very cool.
Love it. Mm-hmm. Beaver.
And then we'll do that. There you go. I'll just show you. I'll just show you there. So there. That's. It's actually a really good issue. The middle story, the Harold Head tale in this one.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I won't show you the whole thing. It's kind of presented in a newspaper kind of sideways format. It's actually a really good story as him and his partner. I can't remember the guy's name, but it's two males in bed and they're talking about reading the newspaper and just talking about the way homosexuals are being talked about in the newspaper, and then they have their kind of story together and they kind of laugh about it. It's actually, and again, like with some of the undergrounds and with some of this stuff, this is 70s, just the topics they were tackling and explicitly so is pretty impressive. Like it's actually a really good little story, and it's not a bad issue. Just having a flip through it again, just looking what's in there. There's a lot of interesting art going on, right? And not much that I can show you here, but it's worth tracking down for some of this stuff. There's a couple of Harold Head stories in here too. So, but definitely it's definitely an adult comic. I see it in the background there, Damien. Did you read this yet?
Oh,
Hey.
no, I haven't read it yet. Have
Good,
you?
thank God.
Okay.
Don't spoil it.
So
No
we'll wait.
spoilers.
We'll wait.
Yeah,
No spoilers. I'll wait until you guys have read it. We can talk about it another time.
But you already read it. Okay. I didn't even. Often you don't get comics in the week they come out, so I didn't know if you had already had it.
No, it's you're very right about that. I couldn't resist though. So when I went to pick up a couple of books, I kind of had used my budget, and then yesterday I ended up selling some comics. So all of a sudden I had cash in my pocket, and I went down to the shop again to pick it up because I wanted to make sure that, because again, it's one of those things like it's selling out here, right?
Out, yeah.
Everybody's buying them, so I'm worried that I'm gonna miss out on it. And then I sat and I was just gonna flip through it, and I just started reading it, and then I was done. I couldn't
Is it
stop.
selling out?
I enjoyed it. I'll say that I enjoyed it more than I did the first Reckless book, and that's all that I'll say until.
That's good news.
Yeah.
Is it selling out? You saying that people really catching on to
in town here? Yeah, it's flying off the shelves. Yeah, it's the shop that I went. He only had 2 copies left, and I bought one of those copies. Right, so I mean locally, and I haven't checked all of the shops, but the few that I've been to, they're not on the shelves anymore. So that's a positive sign for them. So
I think Gore may be lying.
It's fine. Isn't it all of them die all the time?
One of the fun ones I read this week, Squeak the Mouse.
Wow.
Tom and Jerry to the extreme. Super entertaining. It's all
an inspiration for Itchy and Scratchy, I suppose.
Possibly, yeah, it very well could be. It's all silent comics, and it's really, really fun. It is it's miles above, way over the top, but it's so entertaining. I loved Tom and Jerry growing up. I loved the cartoon, and there was some really horrible stuff that happened in the Tom and Jerry cartoon, and this kind of even takes that and just goes even further. It's entertaining. I'm hesitating showing too much here because it is fairly grisly, but I like the way that it's presented. I love just kind of the 369 with the 12 panel pages throughout the entire book. The coloring is really great.
Is
it's
it all
just wild.
Silent panels?
Yep, silent panels the whole way through. Just violence to the extreme. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to show you. There's the opening page, even in kind of classic cartoon way there. Squeak the Mouse, and you kind of start off fairly simply, and it just escalates from that point forward, right? So you get kind of the Tom and Jerry sort of level of violence, and it just kind of keeps stepping it up the entire way through. But really, really entertaining. I think that there's a second volume of it, and then there's also like one collection where it collects all of the stories into one. Yeah, it's a hard one to find. It's a hard one to find, and when I have seen them online before, the price is even more so than a lot of the other stuff. It's really just out of control. So again, because of the 50% off from him, it was on his list, and I snatched it up. And again, it's another good old Catalan Communications. So even more reason to hunt down Catalan. But that was a lot of fun, that one. So yeah, there's my short segment there.
So when you get brought up with a Tom and Jerry as a child, it's like, okay, I'm grown up now, so there you go. Let's pick this the crazy one, the adult versions of Tom and Jerry.
Right.
Remind yourself how funny it used to be. Huh?
Man, Tom and Jerry was such a good cartoon, though. It was so
I
entertaining.
love it.
I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I can still watch it. Like there is this YouTube channel, and they have like 2 hours something. One time I just put it on. And it was just continuously having the Tom and Jerry's like for 2 hours. Like I could not stop watching. I was like, what? How long? It's like I was looking how much like the episode was. It's 2 hours.
Yeah.
So that's crazy.
Yeah, it's really great.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Mr. Typey Type.
Putting in some links to LahRasa.
Yeah, so two of the people on here, Scott and Paulo, are on a great show called Cavern of Chaos every week with Howler Mouse and Jared. So they have great meandering conversations all over the place, including the strange sense of humor of Scott interjected now and then. Yeah. Not really that strange, but punny and cheesy. Yeah. So definitely people should check that out, and I put a link there. And people should check out, if anyone does not subscribe to Terrence and Rasa, I have put the links down below in my description already. And a link to the podcast we were all in that just came out this Saturday called Meanwhile at the Podcast, where we learn all the secrets. Well, a few of them.
All the behind-the-scenes stories.
Yeah. You don't hear here. We don't disclose this information.
So have you guys heard of Bad Idea, the comic book publisher?
No.
And I've been complaining, particularly to Jared Osborne, about them and their interesting way of marketing their books, where they're not available in most comic book stores. Only select special comic book stores who will obey all their rules. And they say that they're not going to reprint them, which I'm sure is eventually going to be a lie. But they say they're not going to come out in book form. They're not going to come out digitally. The only way to get them is at these 200 comic book stores around the country. And of course, as it turns out, on eBay for extravagant amounts of money. But anyway, I swore I wasn't going to buy any of them.
Work with them? Is that what he's doing?
Jared is doing some kind of design work with him.
Okay.
So if he did this logo, so I was at this comic shop across the river called I Like Comics, and I was there just back issue hunting with Sam from Sam's Tangled Web, and they had a countertop display of this one Bad Idea comic. And that's one of the deals. They have to do it as a countertop display. They're only allowed to sell one copy per person. So they had ENIAC there, and I couldn't resist. It's written by Matt Kint, who's a writer I like. Art by Doug Braithwaite, who I have liked in the past, his work with Matt Kint and other people at Valiant. But I wasn't a big fan of his artwork in this here. I mean, it wasn't bad, but it didn't grab me a lot. Let me make myself big for a while.
Can you make yourself big there again, Damien?
There
you go.
I made myself big. So it's a story about two sort of special ops women who do sort of wet work for the U.S. government without anyone knowing that they're doing it, so to speak, off the books. And so they start out, it's kind of, like in a James Bond movie, you start with some other mission and show how it goes. And so they show them taking out some Russians who've been paying the bounties on American soldiers in Afghanistan, you know, which is kind of ripped from the headlines. And then they have to meet in the nude with the head of the Defense Department or something like that, where he tells them about how the ENIAC computer from World War II became sentient and has been controlling things behind the scenes for a long time. And so was it Nagasaki who was bombed second after Hiroshima? The U.S. government only wanted to bomb Hiroshima, but then ENIAC went ahead and bombed Nagasaki too. And a bunch of other events like that were caused by this computer. So their mission is to take out the computer before a certain time where they think the computer is going to destroy the Earth or something like that. But it's weird because the humans are so unlikable in this book. I kind of like ENIAC better than the humans. Even though ENIAC has no emotions or anything, at least he seems, or it seems smarter than the humans. So, and I don't understand how these two, I mean, it's one thing to go, you know, assassinate people, but how are these two ladies who are wet work specialists going to take out a computer that no one knows where it's located? But it's kind of fun. Oh, Jared is here. And so, Jared, did you design that logo by any chance? Or I'm not sure what kind of design work you've done for them. But
he was saying earlier that no, he didn't. That wasn't his work.
Yeah, when I'm talking, I can't follow the comments as well. It's kind of an interesting design on the back there with endless barcodes where it says, not first printing. It's not the second print, but it's not the first print, I guess. And that's, so ENIAC, you know, this is certainly a really nice packaged comic for $3.99, a real bargain. It has a backup story also written by Matt Kemp, but drawn by David Lapham. And I really loved that. The artwork here was great. And it's a fun little weird, almost Twilight Zone, a crime story that turns into kind of a Twilight Zone story, which I liked it quite a bit. So, but I actually find the cover hideous too. I hate that cover. Yeah, so it seems like they're a decent comic book company, but maybe they're gambling that this weird way of marketing will create such a buzz that when they do appear in other comic book stories, that people will be panicked, and whenever they see their comics, they'll grab them. I don't, and Jared's saying there, the backup stories in Bad Idea are all really cool. So it creates a conundrum for me because I don't really want to support this kind of marketing scheme. But it is sort of, I guess, getting them on the map a little faster because everyone's talking about them. But it's playing with this whole investor scarcity kind of thing, which I'm so angry at in general right now. So I don't know, next time I go over, you know, this comic book store is pretty far away from my house. Next time I go over there, whether I will give in and buy the next issue or some other issues from them. Jared is saying they decided not to bother with comic shops that were never going to carry them anyway. But I have to say the comic book stores near me would definitely carry comics like this. And I would have ordered them from my comic book store if I heard there's a new company with a Matt Kent comic coming out, just to see what it was like. But I couldn't because my local comic shops were not doing whatever, you know, were not doing whatever deal they had to do to get these comics.
What, do they need to sell crack before they get the comic or something? Or?
I'm not for sale. I'm not for sale. I'm exclusive. I'm a one-off.
Sorry, just thought I'll give a bit.
Yes. The only one who gets the crack is Mrs. Crack.
Hey, hold on a second. Hold on a second. As it says there, the Lord.
Scott is asking how far away that other comic book shop is. So it's probably a 25-minute drive. I have to leave my city, go across the bridge, go into another state. So, I mean, which isn't a big deal, except that they charge sales tax in that state and not in my state.
Interesting.
And also you can quite likely get caught in traffic jams heading over there. There's some bottlenecks. And so normally I go over like 4 times a year to that because that's the store with the giant 50-cent bins. I don't normally go over there thinking about new comics. I wouldn't. And since the, I can literally walk to a comic book store this way 10 minutes, that way 5 minutes. It takes some thought to go to the place with and to just do it for this comic book company. That's irritating.
Yeah.
Shelbyville, yes, like in The Simpsons. I've been watching a lot of Simpsons, so I know that reference. My daughter has fallen in love with The Simpsons.
Wow, really? That's cool.
That's what you get when you turn 12 or 13, I think. That level of humor.
Prime.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, but Matt Kint knows how to make a good espionage story. So it's interesting, even though very implausible.
Yeah.
He's the strong suit.
I think it's you there, Rasa. What you got?
So, do you guys remember this comic exists?
I sure do.
I was wondering if it was still existing.
Yeah.
So, the last issue they came out was April 2020. Sorry, I'm forgetting what time of year I am anyway. So, yeah, this was April 2020. The last time, and then this is 2021, I guess, April. And then it came out. So it took a year to come out with the comic book again, which is because due to the pandemic, and they were trying to explain in the back. So, but I've basically, from not seeing that comic book very often into production, it seems to be I have this comic book, I haven't read it, so I read 2 issues together. So this was a blockbuster, and thankfully I didn't read it because the end was like, what? But so Deadly Cast has always have that he catches you, Rick Remender, with the end of the story arcs and stuff like that, where he's going to intend the story going forward. And this one ended it in where you can like double guess what's happening, but. I'm talking about this issue prior to this new one. It was a bloodbath. Basically, there was everything in culminations of fighting and killing each other. And it was going from bad to worse. Characters are going away because they're being murdered. Lots of Marcus and his friends has been involved in lots of things. And it seems to be Marcus found his... a match when it comes to, and he was about to kill him, but then his previous lover was coming to help him, and what he does afterwards, I'm not really sure to tell you, because go back and support this comic book because it's still bloody as good comic as he does it in this. So what he does in this issue when you don't see it for a year, apparently he says that he's introducing 10 more extra pages without no extra cost because they disappeared for so long. And then he's very thankful for his creators, the Wes Craig and Lurridge team with him. They're gonna work their ass off apparently to show you, to get you back into the saddle of reading this Deadly Cast comic book. And Wes Craig, as always, is a splendor to behold of when it comes to artistry. And he's really doing it. So this comic book, and it's cleverly done, like we complain, we don't know what time of year, and if it's deadly, like they're telling the stories in which timeline, they do tell you that. So this is 1989. Oh, that's a news one. It doesn't say the time, but it says in here it's 1991. I don't know where he showed it, but I know. Oh yeah. There you go. Do you remember this page?
Oh, that's useful.
So they're using quite a few references of that because of the time and area. And Marcus is all like grown up, and he is all kind of trying and test it and trying to seems to be once again run away. While it would be more steamy and understanding if I would tell you the spoiler of that issue, but I won't, because doesn't disclose what's happening. Like what really happened there. This is just shows you that he's still doing something. There's new characters going to be introduced into the story. And this is just him, after so many things, what's happening to him is just trying to exist, I guess. And he's being like this, trying to hide away from people. He's doing his own things. He's having this roommate, and his room is a bathtub. Because I guess he can't afford, or because he's working for this pizza place. So he's definitely in the hiding, and he's still taking drugs, and he's still tormented by his past, whatever had to experience, and how he actually the way it seems to be, like you think this story is going to get any better. It doesn't look like, because it still continues to be as crazy as it always had. So he meets the girl. All the female characters he introduced, like so far he like really strong female characters, all assassins and stuff, and he's meeting this female in this party they have, and they're having this conversation. In the back of his head, Rick Remender is showing what Marcus is thinking, and she's too good for me, like she's really that like the good person. And then suddenly they had this conversation about music. They mentioned Nirvana, Black Sabbath, how everything, like how grunge was frowned upon, the Nirvana, all those bands, and, that it's really not a grunge and blah, blah, blah. And while we're talking, and she's like trying to explain what her feelings about, like first impressions of Marcus is. And it's like, you look like so like quiet person, and he's like, you don't really know what I am and how I am. And then of course the Marcus you don't get. But this scene is like reminds me of Scumbag. So the guy, because he's taking so much drugs and rock and roll and stuff lifestyle, he goes to the pharmacy and he needs to do an enema to himself. And then he does that, and it shows in the comic book where he shoves this like almost like looking like a milk bottle in this up to his ass.
I'm starting to see a pattern here with Scumbag in this. It's something
Remender
is into displaying.
Yeah. And then this girl she was talking to and have sex with, she comes in and sees what he's doing, and she's like, "What the what the hell are you doing?" I was like, "No, some people need to do the enemas, because they can't poop," kind of thing. This explanation, and while he's running. And we go basically by that scene, we drop back into a scene of violence where somebody's attacking Marcus again. And so she cannot believe, because she had this feeling about this guy who's really quiet and she seems to be lovely, or has, things of his own thing. But then this last line, which is like, if it's spoiler, but it's not really spoiler. And this is how it ends, where he kills the guy. And he says in here, this is about as me as you get, because she's like, you're not selling yourself, you're not like showing yourself who you really are in conversation and kind of thing. And he shows his true colors basically by basically murdering the guy while he's naked in the enema bottle in his up his ass almost. So
those pages are incredible. Like as you were flipping through the pages, I love it in a book sometimes. It's great to sit and hold a book far away from you and see just so you look at like the color blocks and stuff. And that's one of those books, like page after page, really, really amazing. The color palette, like that greeny yellow and stuff. I don't know if I've ever really seen that before, unless it's like, Joker going into a toxic bath or something. But it feels like there's colors in there that aren't often used as much.
Yeah. What I really like in this page colors, when they're sitting down by the pool, and how Wes Craig decides to have those lines to represent the mirage colors into the bodies, So at first I was thinking maybe it's the smoking, but then I realized that it's sitting by the pool and, like that moment. But I like the colors. And as I say, Yeah,
Very original use of color. Yeah, that's amazing.
So you have this conversation, and then you have a break of that conversation by this page.
Wow.
Because he's dreaming again, because he has sex, he had drugs, blah blah blah, and he's still dreaming, and then while he's sleeping, he wakes up and sees all the scenes, whatever happens. And Jared says, "Dead class, no one is really dead." Dude, most of them are dead, apparently, because in this comic book there's plenty of shots in the middle of the head, so I'm sure that guy's proper dead. It's so yes, it's absolutely fantastic. I think this is a star for me. I didn't, after a while, when you haven't seen this comic book on the show, you haven't read it all in a while, this is still fantastic. It has so much to give, even though it's like nonchalant guy still struggling. Is kind of a similar storytelling, but he has this comeback. But this is it's top notch, way more depth in the character, because you're familiar with him, and you still continuously, and where are you gonna take him? Where are you gonna get to eat? Where he's gonna go? It's 2 years later and he's still struggling. So what he done in here, I'm talking about Marcus now, because he's so fucked up in his head now because of what situation he has to be through. If it's true, which I'm still not gonna spoil it, but if it's true, this is gonna be absolutely bonkers, because people will come after him, and who they're gonna kind of have them, they will decide a lot of things. So I'm really liking it, and I'm so bloody glad that they came out after a year later, but come out with visual like this.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is it. Okay, you got my attention back to. I'm now. That's why I'm continue getting it, because I loved it when I was reading it, and I was like, I kind of was sad. But Wes Craig and as I say, all this creative team, spectacular, absolutely beautiful to look at.
Yeah, Wes Craig seems like one of those next level comic book artists that makes most of the rest of them look bad. Right. Like when I was reading Scumbag, and then
Sorry, go ahead.
Just when I was reading Scumbag, and then Wes Craig was the artist on one issue, it's like, whoa, this is so much better than it has been, even though they were all good artists. Mm-hmm. So he's like a treasure. I would think writers might be fighting over him soon.
I think it's
thinking about a page layout in a completely different way, right? Coming at it from a different sensibility. Very, very cool.
I think one thing I never picked, which was kind of silly, but he did the Gravediggers as well, Wes Craig.
Oh, he did.
Oh, yeah.
So one of the things he's done is 2 volumes. It's in the previous volume advertisement. But yeah, this feels really good. Honestly, I even now talking to you and just trying to tell you exactly what the story is all about. It's now it's even more entertaining in my head, and he has this letter explaining kind of in a way. I said, I'm trying to I wanted to explain to you why we haven't been here for producing this comic book, but at the end of the day, you know what, it's just been that year, because that original lockdown, and I guess it does become challenging. And he's 9 years they've been producing, because of he had it in his head for a while, but 9 years in production of this comic book, and how disappointed he was then they canceled this, because this wasn't bad, because he was really true to the comic book as well. They create, the main character really wanted him to be Hispanic. He's not Hispanic, so and Marcus is Hispanic, so I wanted him to be that, so that kind of thing. But yeah, really good. I'm not sure if it should be, because the way where else you're gonna take the storyline when you're reading it, because how far can he go with that much of drag on his head is, because in this one they explain about his mental state, where he's dreaming and he has his dad as a point of remembering his dad, and suddenly, because of whatever his life is going through, he's keep on forgetting what he was and how he felt with his dad. So he's that those memories escaping him, and the only thing he sees is violence all the time, because no matter how far he hides, there's violence. It's just like everybody's looking for him because of what decisions he came upon. So yeah, it's really good. Recommend. It's really fantastic in that. I really like it.
Yeah.
And Reliving the Scumbag, I don't regret. I didn't feel that story at all. This is so much better. So much better.
Yeah.
In comparison.
Well, Jared Osborne is amongst those who are loving monsters.
Mm-hmm.
You got another one for us, Terrence?
Just for Zesty Clam. There you go, Zesty Clam.
Ah.
He wanted a shout out to Fat Dog Mendoza. So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I bought it since you showed it to us before, but I haven't read it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, excellent! I'm glad. I want it to filter out there. Everybody should own a copy. Just to kind of change it up for me. This is on my pull list at 204 Comics. So it's the new storyteller, and I mean, I say it every single time I read it, but honestly, I think this was my favorite issue of almost every other miniseries that I've read. I haven't read every single storyteller miniseries, but this was such a fantastic issue.
Wow.
The one and only, everybody's new favorite, I guess, Peach Momoko cover. It's a beautiful cover. She doesn't do the interior, but this story, the only complaint, and it's a very small complaint, because these are kind of folk tales, I wish there was a tiny bit, even a paragraph at the front or the back, and I'm just double checking to make sure that I didn't miss it. No, there isn't one. Just a little paragraph front or the back that just kind of talks about the origins of the story itself, because you're getting these, like I said, you're getting these folk tales from all over the world. And this one was just, it was such a good story. It reminded me of just watching some of Gore Vidal's videos and him talking about kind of storytelling, because the focus on this one is not only a story about a god who's kind of a trickster, but just about storytelling and how that's handed down to generations, because it starts off with something that we haven't seen before in any ones that I've read. A visitor comes to the house and she starts telling the story to our kind of main character, who hasn't had a chance to listen to a story for a long time. And the way the story unfolds and kind of how it all wraps up, which I won't even begin to spoil. And I'm just looking as I get further to the back, safe pages. It's just really, really, really well done. I found it moved along so nicely, and it was just a really touching ending. It's one of those books that any miniseries that they put out, I won't show you anymore. Any miniseries that they put out, I have it on my pull list now with 204. I told them that anytime there's a new one, just automatically throw it on. And it's also a good one that Lillian, like I said before, Lillian has some. This is one that I'll sit and read with her, because I think she'll really like it as well too. And so far, this miniseries, both issues are kind of very kid friendly. So highly recommended, especially if you're reading comics with kids. Highly, highly recommended. Really good.
Cool. Okay, well, talk about stories we read with kids.
Mm-hmm.
I have got this lined up from my Hoopla.
Oh, nice.
They don't show the covers in this collection. It's a collection that was available on Hoopla. That's Lex Luthor stories throughout time. I think it probably stops in the mid 2000s or something. But this is a story from 1963 that I absolutely loved, where Lex Luthor and Brainiac team up. And it starts out focusing on Lex escaping from prison, and he has there's stuff where he's trying to get Superman, but he has a special machine called his time-space thought scanner. And he uses it. He realizes that Superman's been defeating him over and over again, and he uses it to search the universe for a brain that's smart enough to defeat Superman throughout time and space. So he comes across, in the past of this planet, this great computer. Mm-hmm. I forget if the computer has a name, but essentially the computer eventually takes over the planet and then wants to take over other planets. So it creates a human-looking computer named Brainiac.
Of
So
course.
this is the first origin of Brainiac.
Wow.
And the one thing it has to have these ports in Brainiac's head for some reason. So Luther realizes he's the only one who knows Brainiac is a robot. Everyone just thinks he's a regular alien. And Superman has imprisoned Brainiac on this planet. The whole planet is a prison for Brainiac that Superman set up. So Lex Luthor takes his spaceship and goes to that planet. And Superman has all these satellites around the planet that will shoot or detect any ship trying to enter the planet. So he uses a meteor. Sorry, I'm having a weird. There we go. He uses a meteor or an asteroid put between him, full of lead, between him and the satellites, so he can sneak down. And he goes to the planet, and there is he has to make his way through various traps that Superman set up. And then he tells Brainiac, well, just set a fire inside your cage, because Superman is too nice, so he would have a way that the cage will open if there's a fire inside your cage. And he's right. And so they escape. But Brainiac points out, I am an 11th level or 10th level brain, but I haven't been able to defeat Superman. And but Lex says, well, I can turn you into a 12th level intelligence. I have the technology to turn you into a 12th level, and then together we can defeat Superman.
Oh my God.
So they go back to Earth, and Lex operates on Brainiac's brain to make him a 12th level intelligence. And then Brainiac immediately wants to betray him, but Lex knew he was going to betray him, so he put a timer inside of Brainiac's brain that shuts him down every 2 hours. And so the only way he can keep going is if he works with Lex and doesn't and Lex can turn him back on every 2 hours. My daughter, she pointed out that Lex and Brainiac look like brothers.
Yeah, it's exactly the same.
So then they need Brainiac with his 12th level now with his 12th level intelligence has a plan, and they need secret ingredients from across the universe. So they go to all these different planets with weird creatures on it to get the chemicals they need. So like on this planet, all they're living things that have adopted to this all ocean world by evolving into living ships. I don't know why they couldn't just evolve into whales or something. And then they come to the planet where Lex Luthor is revered. And there's a woman there who kisses him, and he's like, oh, maybe I should come back here someday. And that's Lexor, which appeared recently in
that miniseries we were reading.
In that miniseries, yeah, with by Mark Russell. And Lexor appears every now and then in the Silver Age stories.
I see.
Whoops. And some of this art kind of reminds me of like, what's he called? Charles Burns and stuff at times. It's early Kurt Swan. So they weaken Superman with the chemicals they've made, and then Brainiac shrinks him down. And Superman has his Clark Kent clothes, which he rips up and uses as a rope to escape from the bird cage they put him in. And he finds some controls to the shrink ray and gets people out of Kandor to help him. They're all dressed as Superman, of course, because they're like the Superman emergency squad or something. And so they have a battle with Superman. And then they have a trial in Kandor. And they both get sent to the I forget now, but somehow Brainiac has erased. Somewhere along the line, Brainiac has erased Luthor's memory that he is a robot before the end of the story. So no one knows that Brainiac's a robot.
Mm-hmm.
And he sends them both off to the planet where Lex. They're sent off to live on the planet where Lex is a hero.
Of course.
And that's the end. Anyway, I just loved this. It was so wacky.
Yeah, I like it.
And this is the stuff I hated as a kid, ironically, since it's aimed at kids. But I love it now.
Very good. Are you gonna watch that a new Warner Bros. Animated movie with Wonder Woman, Jesse, and all that stuff? World War something. What is it called?
I think I probably will watch that. I saw an article about it.
Because it's when Brainiac is gonna be there. It's Flash and stuff.
Yeah.
And
Is it
DC.
a new DC animated movie? Is that what you're?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
just forgot the name. And
I didn't know they were still doing those on a regular basis. Or
I think this was been talked about quite a few times because we haven't done it in the life. I mean, they are quite often to produce. They produce that kind of weird Batman storyline, which I start watching it and I wasn't really into it. And then this was talked about because Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot kind of looking Wonder Woman going to be involved, but that's but I think they just started World War II. Yeah, that's the one. Ragamuffin. Thank you. That's the one. So I'm curious to do as well because I like animated movies. I never disliked them.
I think, Gore, that early Kurt Swan is much better. I mean, I even like the 70s Kurt Swan, but the 60s Kurt Swan has this real, I don't know, amazing style to it, which I think influenced people like Dan Clowes and Charles Burns and a bunch of other people. And like Mike Allred, you can see a lot of early Kurt Swan and Mike Allred art.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty tapped out. Do you guys have more stuff you wanted to talk about? Or do you
I just want to know because I watched your video, but you didn't give me much of the Two Moons feel for because I didn't really. Did you say what you thought? Maybe you didn't want to spoil it all.
I liked it, but I didn't say a whole lot about it.
Yeah.
I haven't picked up my copy yet, so just a fair warning.
It's just a panel for you to.
I love that panel.
So good.
The art in here is really great.
Wow.
This is more explanation of to what and how things gonna, I guess, evolve in this storyline. But it's the beginning of I read the art again. I think I'm getting more and more into the art in this, especially when he goes into that like creature type of a story, like and stuff. But look at that. And don't you want to be in that field? Even the horseback riding, I wouldn't mind, even though I hate horseback riding. But yeah, that field looks so stunning. But yeah, the artist is great. And
I think in my video, I got hung up on whether the American Civil War took place in Kansas. I just didn't think it was there.
I remember you explaining
that. But it's a
beautiful
beautiful evocation of those sort of primordial plains before there were too many humans there.
So I guess I won't mesh because Terrence, I would like to know what you thought anyway, so we can actually even discuss that.
I'm super curious to read it. I loved the first 2 issues. I'm pretty excited about that series, so I'll be picking that up hopefully this week.
Why don't we all discuss this and maybe the? Are you going to be able to get the new Reckless book, Rasa?
I'm not sure because now I'm debating. I have to if I'm going to do. I don't know if I do Reckless or Monsters. It's a bit of a debate in my head at the moment because Monsters I'm really curious and Reckless I'm want to continue, but I don't invest in 2 in one.
Honestly, the considering the size of Monsters, the price tag on it is only $40
$10 more.
American. So considering you're getting well over
it's a
300
bargain.
pages, I think it's worth it to try to pick that up. The Reckless one, it's the standard size, and it has a price tag of $24.99 US.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's up to you, but yeah, it's a really good value for money for Monster.
I found a website where in here there's bookshop. It's not often I go in the bookshop websites, but they had a sale, like this crazy sale where they had discounts. So I'm wondering if they still have it, because we have this bank holiday tomorrow. So I think maybe that's why. And it's almost the same, actually less than your Reckless book. So I'm thinking Monster's gonna win. Wow.
Yeah. And I think Monster is more in danger of really selling out. Like, I got the last copy at my shop, and a guy right behind me said, "Oh, I almost grabbed that from the shelf. Now I wish I had."
Shit. Okay, I'm gonna be like tomorrow, like, are you there still? Because I'm gonna panic.
It's probably a good idea, because it's the same thing. Like, I've only seen it so far in the one shop that I've been to, and I got the last copy. So I think if I was pushing in one direction, it would be towards Monsters.
Yeah, and by the way, this
Monster rather.
Awesome, like always. And
it's almost boring to talk about Usagi because it's always so awesome.
And just mention, and I'm looking forward to the next one, because I always, when I read this, like, and I'm looking, this is the only time I'm looking for advertisements, and it's like next series. I was like, yes! I'm getting a next series. Really good story again about stolen, someone's trying to steal this sword, and then of course
for political reasons,
and Usagi Yojimbo gets involved, of course, with the clever ways of his like sneaky part, and then it's like conversations, and he's like, I knew it, and then it's great. I love it as always.
And that scene where the ninja gets stabbed through the wall, but he doesn't move, so they won't think they've hit anyone through the wall. He just
there's the way
he's still until they pull it, and he uses a rag like to staunch the blood around the sword, so no blood will trip through the ceiling. I guess it was.
This is the panel here. So she whacks in the ceiling, he gets stabbed, and he's like, oh, I have this mask, let me take it. And he cleans the blade. So when she takes it out, there's nothing going on. So it's crazy. It's like, oh, so I didn't do it, because at the end of the day, kind of you like the motion of that, like somebody's get stuck somewhere. But imagine you don't say any sound, and because you're that badass ninja, like who is. And it's fantastic. This Wondrous Road has 6 issues, so this is the last one, and I absolutely loved it.
Cool.
Well, there you go. So we can. I just wanted to show those, but 2 Moons we can talk if you read. So it would be interesting.
For sure. I'll pick it up this week.
It was actually also interesting to compare 2 Moons to that Red Wolf one. I mean, even though they're so different, there was a certain sense of the difficulty in both of these of being the red man trying to do good within the white man's society. But
Cool.
Okay, thank you everyone for joining us. We had so many great comments and commenters. Couldn't keep up with all of them. At one point
we had over 20 people watching, which is fantastic. I mean, it really makes it amazing experience. It's tough to keep up with the comments, though. They were coming so quickly. Looks like a lot of good conversation, though, which is fantastic.
Right. We've even conversations that had nothing to do with us, but about John Paul Leon and about what's his name? Anyway, other artists and things. It was just really cool.
Thank you.
So thanks everyone. Thank you, Rasa and Comickkrakk or Terrence, and we'll see. We'll probably be back next week. We never know if we're going to skip a week, but we'll definitely keep doing it.
Your lordship,
the Lord's crack will be back.
Thank you very much. In the meantime, build an effigy of me and then quickly burn it. Make sure that you do that.
We might smell bad when we burn it, but we'll do it.
That's right. Smell like the Lord's crack.
Okay, on that, we're
bye.
really going.